Happy 1st of February 2024. It's the kickoff to a new month, the second month in the year. I can't believe we're already here. I tell you, every time it feels like we come onto the radio, I'm looking at the calendar like, how did we get here from there? I mean, this is nutty stuff. It's been a whole month since we rang in the new year. I think I was down in Florida when that happened. Craziness. George Brauchler on the George Show on this Thursday. Weather today is going to be the best it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So saith the bone rollers out there in the weather world. 62 degrees, a high again. I think that was yesterday too. I still couldn't find an excuse to be outside other than in my car for all the work that was going on yesterday. Tomorrow, 52 degrees, which sounds nice, but rain starts to develop. Saturday and Sunday, rain and snow. It had been snow on Sunday, but they've changed it up. They decided to go rain and snow, 42, 40 degrees. That's a change. They had us going to 38 before. They're constantly tweaking this. What they don't ever do, and again, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to solve this with the time I have on the radio, but I really want them to do an after-action review. Like in the rearview mirror, we need to see what they predicted and what actually happened. I just give them 2-3 days. It's not going to happen. Monday, 48, Tuesday, 50, Wednesday, 53. None of those matter because, as we've been told before, that's it, folks. They just don't know after 3 days. They really have no clue after 3 minutes. But 3 days, they've said, we really can't tell you anything that's going on. This day in history, thank you to our good friend Aaron, who hooks us up. That was yesterday. And for those of you that aren't tracking, that was our little homage to Groundhog Day, because today, this Friday, the 2nd of February, is Groundhog Day. Some of you were like, my God, why are they replaying yesterday's show? That was it right there. This was our Bill Murray, Andy McDowell moment right here on KNUS. My name is George Brauchler. This is the George Show. Weather today, not much change, by the way. I'm pretty, I'm pretty complimentary of the weather guys today because it was relatively consistent. 53 degrees today, rain develops. 42 tomorrow, Saturday, and 40 degrees Sunday. All have little precipitation symbols on them, rain and snow, morning flurries, all that other stuff. I don't think it's going to be too bad. At one point, Jeff last night said, I think it's going to be 7 inches. I'm like, what? I've never heard anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe he's got some other kind of a weather app out there that he's looking at, but not me. I just go off of the piece of papers that Billy gives, and we just sort of trust that they're going to happen. By the way, any trivia last night, Billy?
No, not at all. Yeah, I was at home last night, which is nice.
What?
Yeah, it was that doesn't happen very often. So yeah, hung out a little bit with the family, spent some time. Won't go too far into it, but yesterday afternoon, my son's soccer team had played. Mine had played earlier in the week, and so my son and I spent about half an hour or so just watching some highlights because it was interesting. I will keep this short. His team yesterday, Manchester United, playing Wolverhampton Wanderers, the Wolves. They go up 3-0. There were a grand total of 7 goals scored in the game. So all those people say, I want 0-0 ties. 7 goals scored in the game. 2 of them scored in injury time, the tail end of the game. So Manchester goes up 3-0.
Yeah.
Wolves come back 3-1. Then Wolves make a dynamic substitution for a striker that is causing Manchester.
What makes it a dynamic substitution? Is there a lot of drama?
Yes, it is. There's some drama. Sometimes there are some people that are felled on the pitch, and they have to be. No, I'm kidding. The idea is it changes dynamic, meaning that it changes the strategy. It changes how Wolves were playing and makes Manchester change on the fly. Unlike with football and even with basketball and baseball, where you can call timeouts or you have breaks to reset your strategy. You don't have those in soccer. So you literally go, okay, I'm going to change this, but I'm going to take this guy. I'm taking him off. I'm bringing this guy on, and now we're going to attack this way. And he became a real problem for Manchester. Ends up scoring in about the 86th minute. So now it is 3-2. Go into 9 minutes of extra time, minute and a half in extra time. The substitute scores again for Wolves.
Oh my gosh.
It's 3-3.
What in the world?
Yeah. We got 9 minutes of extra time rolling, and we've scored about 90 seconds in. So roll and keeps going. Young kid from Manchester United has only had a handful of starts over the course of a weekend, plays kind of a defensive midfielder. Think of him as a linebacker in football. That's kind of his role. Is just outside the penalty box, takes the ball, slides it between one of the Wolves players' legs, moves around another one of the players, and sets up a shot and curls that shot from the left side of the goal around into that right-hand post and wins the game with a minute left.
The backup dude or the fill-in guy?
He's a young guy. Yeah. He's a young player. He played the entire game, Manu, from Manchester United. But this is a young kid who at the tail end of the game, it's the idea of that clock is counting down. And he is that quarterback. He is that point
Amazing.
guard. He takes it, and as a young kid, turns and says, I got this. And for him to not to defer to some of the older players around him, he found this edge and said, if I get here, I got a shot at this. And it's a beautiful shot. And crowd goes wild, and they were the visitors as well.
Which sport was this?
It was curling. It was actually, but
that explains your use of the term.
Yes, it's new full contact curling though. So both teams are on the ice at the same time. Yeah, there is
a lot of rubbing.
Yeah, those brooms. There's some chafing there.
Listen, that does sound cool. I wish I could appreciate any game like that. I can't.
It was nice. Yeah.
I can play the role of color commentator to the NFL, as can most dudes or dudettes that have watched the game for very long. You can predict what they're going to say.
Oh yeah.
You can overachieve Dan Deerdorf.
Oh god, yeah. And for my man, was it Olsen, the former tight end guy, Greg Olsen?
Greg Olsen, he's still on there. Yeah,
yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
he's more likable than he gives me insight. He's very likable, and what he says is very surface. He's not as bad as some used to be. But I wish he would give me a little more depth about the why rather than being so much. He's great for both sides.
Yeah.
But there are times I'm like, it seems like you want to have your ears scratched, or like you want me to tell you you're a good boy just because of how enthusiastic you are about this, and rather tell me why this worked so well.
Yeah, I like him. I like Tony Romo. Yeah. Some of the others, I'm not really like Chris Collinsworth has probably had his day. I like Chris. He's an institution, but
I like Chris. I like his voice, but he's done. And the reason is Chris, the game has passed him by. And what I mean by that is not that he doesn't understand the game, the commentator game.
Yeah.
What he provides as a color commentator is worthless. It's absolutely worthless.
Don't sugarcoat it, man. Come right out.
There's nothing. He is, and again, nice guy. Appreciate his work. He has been an institution. But the level of color commentary that he offers is atrocious. And the reason being, the vast majority of those people that are really interested in this play Madden. They understand the X's and O's on a level that when Chris started, nobody did.
Yeah.
And Chris really needs to give the audience a little more insight and understand they can meet him at a level that he's not used to. I don't think he understands the level of comprehension so much of the audience wants. Like there was one of the playoff games. He's talking about Amon St. Ra Amon St. John. St. John, isn't it? Amon Ra St. John.
There's a lot of Ra's out there.
There's a lot of Ra
John
exactly. Or something. Johnny Ron Johns. I don't know. John Johns. I don't know.
I think he's a senator.
Guys. Yeah. He's one of the guys for the Detroit Lions. And he's talking about, it was hard to tackle him because he has very strong legs. You know, his dad's a power lifter. Yeah, last time I checked, Dad's not playing.
Yeah,
it's
the genetics, Billy.
I know, but it's the idea of that. That is such an awful thing to say because you're not giving me. I just watched them not tackle him. I just watched them with his really strong legs walk several guys forward. You don't need to tell me what I just saw. Tell me why.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or at least go back and show how the play, developed in such a way. Here's why this thing didn't work. You know,
that's where Tony Romo nails it.
Yeah.
Tony Romo is hands down the best at it because the number of times I appreciate him going, "Ooh, that was a tough read," because here's the open guy, and they go back and they say he missed this read, or he will tell me, "Oh, the quarterback made that throw because he saw this. He saw this at the line, and then when they did this and they came off the line, the defense reacted this way, and here it is." And he'll even go down to say, the pass is open here, but he delivered it here. And that's why it wasn't made. If he would have thrown it a second sooner, if he would have done this sooner, if he would not have thrown in this, he really tells you why it didn't work. I appreciate him, and I believe in my heart, right here in my heart. It's tiny,
where
like the Grinch. It's tiny, but I believe that Chris Collinsworth can deliver that. but I believe he doesn't because he doesn't believe that the audience is there with him. I think that someone needs to say, Chris, give us more of the depth as far as what you're seeing on the field as a wide receiver.
The guys who I want to be when I grow up and who I just marvel at the lives they've lived are the dudes that are next to those guys. So like, you know, when you talk about the Al Michaels, and I can't go back and watch that 1980 clip from the U.S. hockey team thing enough. And so the other day, Graham and I, we watch a lot of these sports movies. Disney, of course, has a ton of them. Miracle, we watched with Kurt Russell. And the last however many seconds of the call, they switch from the acting piece, which is Al Michaels doing the rereading, to the live clip of him doing it. And it's you just can't do it. Anyway, love that guy. Joe Buck. Like, why can't I have Joe Buck's life?
Now, the thing is, that job. Here's the thing for me is there's part of me way back in the history that says I might have been able to have maybe not the Joe Buck level, but I could have done that play-by-play gig. I had a lot of experience of it in college, did a ton of it, won both local, regional, and national awards, had a number of awards for play-by-play, and I was really, really good at basketball. That's great stuff. Yeah, but here's the reason, and people listening will understand this. I was really good at basketball because, surprise, I talk a little fast.
You do talk fast.
A bit. Just
a bit. You could do hockey too.
Yeah, and that was the reason I was able to give a lot of description into what was going on in the basketball court in a very finite amount of time. And I really tried to be precise on my descriptions because as a kid growing up, I hated listening to basketball on the radio because all it was is a guy, it was squeaky shoes and a guy going, and he takes it, Johnson misses. Thomas brings it up the court and passes to Williams. Old school stuff. Williams scores. You didn't tell me anything about what happened. And I had the ability to tell you the defense is setting up this way. This is how the offense is setting up. This is where the point guard is going. We're doing this. You're seeing this. I would even check and tell you what's happening in the low block and what's coming across the key because I had the ability to pack so much in a quick time. And that was a skill. And I had a lot of people that appreciated it.
Keep that going, man, because that might ward off the dementia gods right there.
Yeah, it really would. But there was a point in which there was a decision made by some people in power, and they liked someone else that was doing the play-by-play for CU basketball better than what I could offer. And so then I did not get that gig. I did it once. And the person liked the other guy. But again, the other guy
he went on to be Bob Costas.
He went on. He's not even in radio anymore.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but it was, again, part of it was, and the reason they came to me was the guy in charge said, I like your call. Your call is strong, but it's his turn. He'd been there longer. He'd been doing it. It's his gig. He's the next guy in line. I'm like, that's fine. And the nice part about it was he didn't say he's better or I'm better. He didn't say either one. He just said, I like you're solid. This is great. And do this and this. But it's this guy's shot. And since he was doing it, a lot of the fill-in things weren't there. And so I went in a different direction and ended up, unfortunately, here. So in part, if you do not want me here, listener, it's because of that. Because of bad choices. I should have been doing basketball. You would have loved me much more.
It just keeps getting worse.
It does.
Just keeps getting worse.
So my bad life choices are why you are sad and frustrated in the morning. I apologize.
Listen, someone just texted in, friend of the show, Aaron, who helps us with this day in history stuff. And says that Joe Buck is married to a graduate from Green Mountain High School.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Either he lost a bet or she won a bet. Has to be.
Yeah,
has to be.
I think it's probably a second marriage for Joe Buck, but I don't know.
That's wonderful.
But the fact that a Green Mountain Ram, one, isn't in custody, that's huge.
Yes.
And two, that they were able to make it out of our cowtown here into the big leagues and marrying some guy who probably has jillions of bucks.
I know.
This says, says she's 47 years old. The pictures, at least they put up here, do not look like she is 47 years old.
But again, all of us that have been in our 47s or are just getting there, appreciate that a lot.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
I really appreciate when you use the younger pictures. Thank you so much.
Says that she's been married to Big Joe Buck since 2014, which, if we're talking about this day in history, on this day, 10 years ago, it was the dreaded Super Bowl involving the Seahawks and the Broncos.
Oh, no.
If you remember, that was that year that Peyton Manning, who we had grabbed up after the Colts threw him on the ash heap of history. And dude went on to set all of these offensive and quarterback records, with the touchdowns and the passes and all the other voodoo stuff. And it turned out That's not what we needed to win. We needed to win,
Yeah.
not snap the ball through the back of the end zone to begin the game. That turns out to be bad.
Yeah, that does.
But
it's an odd strategy to start out with.
It is, and it's an
odd
odd
bold
one.
strategy.
Because, normally they script the first, 15, 20 plays. Was that in there?
Yeah, I know.
Was that one in there?
Guys, I got a surprise for him. Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Snap it over Peyton's head.
They'll
never expect
We're going to lull them into a sense of false sense of security. And then we're going to come back and really get blown out.
Yeah, they're like, remember those great Broncos teams in the 80s, how they surprised the Redskins with letting them score 40 points before deciding to play? That's our strategy, boys.
This is a reminder. The score, if you don't recall, 42-8. 42-8 is a bloodletting.
That was really bad. Now I got a side story on that one. Okay, one, as soon as because you and I growing up here in Colorado,
that's right.
We have PTSD based on Broncos Super Bowls. I have it very, very deeply. All of my friends, as we were headed into that Seattle Super Bowl, they're like, "You excited about the Broncos? You excited about the Broncos?" And I'm like, "No,
kinda,
no,
yeah."
I have been hurt so many times before.
Oh yeah,
and it's like I'm not. I'm so worried. And as soon as the ball went over Peyton's head, I felt this dark cloud of doom. I went, "Oh God, here we go again." It was like a sign that said this is going to happen. Now, the only person that had it worse that day than you or I or most listeners is my younger brother.
He had money on the game?
No, it's much, much, much worse.
What?
My younger brother has moved from this wonderful, wonderful state and has made a wonderful life and thing in the okay city of Seattle.
Oh, wow.
He's there as a lifelong Broncos fan.
That's tough.
A hardcore Broncos fan. All of his friends, Seattle fans. He works in radio. He gets invited to the general manager's house of the group of radio stations in Seattle that he works for.
Oh, boy.
Gorgeous house. Giant TV. General manager has had the event catered for the Super Bowl so that he, the wife, the family don't have to do anything. All sorts of Seattle fans, all in their gear. He's the one dude wearing orange.
Holy crap.
And he's there, and the Broncos do that. And this is how bad it was. It was you suck for about the first 20 minutes. And after that, it was everybody in a Seattle uniform coming over, putting their arm around him going, buddy, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
When the other team starts offering you condolences and you're not at halftime.
No, but it was that bad.
It was that bad. And I sat there and I'm like, and he's like, it was one of the worst days of my life. He's like, after all, you're just like, it sucks. But at least it was nice. The friendships that he built and everything else was fantastic.
They were destroyed.
Yeah. And he lit the house on fire.
That's a much larger version of my microcosm story from the same day. I was driving up from Camp Pendleton, where I trained some prosecutors, driving up to the brother-in-law's house up there near San Clemente. And they're all Seahawks fans. And so
in other words, they all have emotional problems.
That's right. That's right. They've all been abused.
Yes.
And so there's a picture at halftime of all of us sitting around kind of like the family room couch. I'm wearing an orange and blue Hawaiian shirt. Like it's got the flowers, but it's Broncos colors, flowers.
I've seen that one. That is one of my favorite shirts you have. Yeah.
And everybody else is around smiling, holding up a beer and stuff. There's one guy in the middle in orange, and nobody knows that I've photobombed this thing until later. And I'm doing this right here and just sitting there, no emotion. Later on, Gary texts me the picture. He goes, dude, classic. I did not see you do that when we took the picture. It was so brutal. The game was over by halftime.
That is fantastic.
It was ugly.
I appreciate that on a level that I don't think you really understand, because my father, and again, love him so much. He had this thing about not really liking the family pictures, etc., and didn't want them shared and things like that. So he routinely would work the bird into family pictures. The number of family pictures I have over the year where my dad is casually flipping the camera off, I love him to death for it. And sadly, or for better for worse, my oldest son Max has picked that up as well. So that's his thing now too.
Oh, that's it, huh?
Yeah, he will just. I mean, it's
careful of the upcoming wedding photos.
And I won't do it in front of the camera things.
Why
but
not?
it's things like like you're sitting there and everybody has their hand on the knees. Well, my dad, one of the hands on the knees is actually giving you the finger. I mean, so over and over and over. Oh, there was one where, you're standing there and it is in suit and tie, and he's got his hand on the breast of the jackets, except he's holding both sides of
Thank
it.
you for saying
One of the fingers is coming out. So he's sitting there like
It's
that.
just-
Yes. I mean, that's what he did. It looks like, and so it almost looks like a tie clip. But and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah,
we've
love
had a
you, Dad.
couple texts. I still like Dave Logan's call on Elway's first Super Bowl win.
Oh yeah.
Dave Logan does a great job. He's been great. Yeah.
Logan to me is one of those that I am surprised TV has not picked him up, because again, for me, I'm looking for description and precision. I can't find, and what I do is, again, I've talked about this, that when our local teams are playing, I use our satellite service, the XMs and the Siriuses, to go and try to find the alternate broadcast. I have a lot of joy, and I find it very interesting to hear. I can't find another play-by-play guy on the radio in the NFL that comes close to Dave. I'm not talking about this guy's good, this guy Dave's a little better. No.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
To me, it's not even close. Dave, to me, is on a level that is above anybody else that does it because of how he describes it.
He also builds a nice emotion into the
does he
script.
ever?
Like, here we go.
Yes.
You know,
and
here we go. He's at the 30. He's at the 25.
It's wonderful. And not only that, but he talks to you about the set. He talks to you about them coming to line of scrimmage. He talks to you about substitutions. He lays the groundwork and allows you, if you're just listening to the radio, to see the game in a way nobody else does. And why people that are running TV haven't picked him up and put him in that job is a crime. It is unless they have come to him and said, "Hi, have you seen all this big pile of money we have?" And he said, No, I'm happy in Colorado. If he's happy in Colorado and he's rejected those, then I respect you even more. But it is a crime that someone hasn't grabbed him and has him doing national.
And and maybe he's
so
just
good.
like, I'm happy where I'm at. Like, the dude's been coaching high school football at a level that we've never seen before consistently. He's never made that step kind of up to do the NCAA thing.
He's been offered it.
I'm sure that's what I'm saying is maybe
I know. I
really?
know people that were involved in discussions.
Recently?
No. But I know people that were involved in discussions.
Do it, right?
No, he didn't. Now, again, it's not Dave's people. These are people that were on the other end that said they reached out and this, and Dave demurred and said, no, because the coaching high school, it's something that gives him joy on a level that he doesn't experience anywhere else. There's something magic to him about shaping those young guys.
Yeah,
and again, and setting them up for success, because he knows, from what I understand, he had people in his life at that time that then set him up for success. And it's almost that idea of giving back, the idea that if he can be that guy that can put these kids, and think about how much of a screw up you were in high school.
And a lot.
Oh my God, me too. But a person that has that ability in that point in that child's life, that point in that player's life, to give them that direction, that hope, and that desire, it's next level. And so I totally respect, because college becomes something different. College, and I've had a number of players and people that I know that have played college and then went on to play pro that we've talked about. That's different. The real impact to get that drive, to get them to the next level, it happens here in high school. That's where that fire is lit. And that's why I love Dave here.
Well, and these guys, whether they go on to play college ball or not, there's just that, I don't know, that level of them. I don't know what the right word is, but they're impressionable. They're moldable. They're fixable. And
I'm sure that your career in high school football, there are moments there, but there are moments that you still look back on today, things that you remember, both on the field and off the field, based on that experience, that have shaped, in some ways, some of the decisions that you make at times, and some of the ways that you deal with even your kids.
Now that I look at this thing, Billy, I'm going back looking at this Michelle Beisner, now Beisner Buck, if I'm saying that right. She was a Broncos cheerleader. I remember her from back in the day, and Buck did himself well.
I'm not going to ask any more questions.
Very impressive. Nonetheless,
I don't want to know where you kept the calendar.
Also on this day,
nothing else we're going to talk about on this one.
Also on this day, same day, by the way, 2014 on this day. A favorite actor of mine at the time, Philip Seymour Hoffman, found dead of a heroin overdose in New York City.
Oh, that's crushing. That is crushing.
I know. I mean, you think about all the great talent out there, from Belushi to Farley to and others I can't remember. Just, I don't know.
And the one with Hoffman that hurt me a lot, because again, super talented character actor, unbelievable depth that he could bring to the screen, was the thing that got me. Was we understand the issues and the complications and what we have with heroin, and how hard it is. And again, being the music I can go laundry list of incredible rock stars that we've lost due to heroin and addiction. And the idea that of one person that has the ability to leverage help The
Oh,
one person who has the ability to pick up that phone. There are a lot of people out there that are struggling with addiction that don't have anyone.
Yeah.
We go down to Denver and we see people that are struggling with addiction, that they're bringing people off the streets.
Yeah.
They have no one to call. Philip Seymour Hoffman had the support and the resources were available, and still that drug had enough of a hold of him.
I'll bet you he had more support getting the heroin than he had probably trying to help him get off the heroin.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Is when we brought in, Stephen Tubbs yesterday, and we're talking about
speaking of heroin.
Exactly. The DEA. When you talk about why it's such a problem, why we have so many millions of heroin and fentanyl pills coming over, and how it's affecting the drug supply and killing people. That's it. You had someone like Philip Seymour Hoffman who had all the reasons and all the resources to not do it, and that drug still had him. That's how hard it is. So that's hard. That's really hard.
A sucky one. He was also great in Son of a Woman, where he played. Yeah, exactly. But he played the snotty rich kid who ends up folding when Chris O'Donnell stands his ground, and I ought to take a flamethrower to this place. I don't know why I suddenly made him Larry David with that accent, but that was my version of Al Pacino.
It would be funny to see Larry David do the Al Pacino role. That would be hilarious.
Speaking of things from that neck of the woods, a city got started on this day back in 1653. At the time, they called it New Amsterdam.
Oh.
It is, of course, New York City. 1653, man.
Which kind of explains the drugs.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Barbra Streisand's #1 hit, The Way We Were.
Oh, wow.
50 years ago today.
Jeez.
50 years, man.
Wow.
What?
That's crazy.
1954, which gives us a full 70 years ago, the Nutcracker Ballet, choreographed by George Balanchine, and some other stuff here. Sugar Plum Fairy opens in New York.
That's great. And again, you only have to see the first half.
You really, it is like Full Metal Jacket.
Is, you only need to see the first half. Second half, largely useless.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
Unless your kid is performing in it.
Also, and this is from our friend Aaron, the National League, the oldest existing Major League Professional Baseball organization in the United States, began play as the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs, 1876, man. That's the year we became a state. Yeah, that's pretty magical.
That is really cool.
Those are the good ones. There's probably some other big history stuff in there. Oh, here's one. Nope, that's just for tomorrow. We're not going to do it tomorrow.
Nope,
Can't do it.
We're not here.
Another amendment that got ratified, and you just don't get to know about it. I'm so sorry that you're just going to have to wait until Monday to get.
We could have made you smarter, but that is not what we do.
No. I mean, that's not our goal.
No,
our goal is to fill the time.
Yes,
folks. I don't know if you've picked up on that. The 6 o'clock hour is a bunch of banter. People text some things in that let us know that the station is on.
Yes,
and thank you for doing that.
We sure help.
Really do appreciate.
Sometimes we don't know when it's off the air.
Here's another text. Billy, you almost make soccer sound good. Nice job explaining it.
That makes me happier than you actually know. It's absolutely wonderful, because that is somewhat of my goal in life, because it is an underappreciated sport. But again, I get it. I totally understand why a lot of people in America, and even you texter, look at it and go, God, this sucks. I appreciate it. I get it, man. But I tell you, you, me, bar, beers, give me about 2 games, I'll turn you into a fan. Not one that's as crazy as I am, but at least someone that will appreciate it when it's on, so you can root for the U.S. But again, it has to involve liquor at the first blush. Has to.
Yeah. Here's I believe the Seattle loss was at the Meadowlands. That is true. Maybe a little too close to Eli at the time. The Broncos' social headquarters was a boat. Some commentators said the boat was a bad decision.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I have heard so many things about the boat being such a bad decision.
Yeah. By the way, a suggestion for a future guest. Tulsi Gabbard, who I believe is a lieutenant colonel. I ran into her at the Centennial Institute. And you know who knows her, because he hooked her up with that speaking gig, is a guy named Hef Junt.
I've heard
Jeff
about
Hunt.
that. I've heard that. Yes.
So maybe we can leverage that relationship for something. Just a lot of good stuff here. This ain't basketball. Slow down.
I appreciate that. And again, I have no idea how it struggles, because again, the words and the voices in my head talk really fast. It is really noisy inside my head. And I do have several placards that say slow down. There's one when I'm doing my weekend FM radio show stuff that I put in front of me every weekend. Slow down. That has been a problem. I have had bosses come to me and go, wait, stop, rewind. I can't go Billy speed. And so,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
So, on those Audible books,
Yeah.
you can vary the speed. And
Oh,
I'd like to try to listen to books at about a 1.4, 1.5, which you think to yourself at first, oh my God, there's no way I can keep up. Somehow your brain keeps up, right? Like you're able to get this stuff. For you, Billy, it would be to slow it down. You're like in the old Star Trek show with the Tribbles. Do you remember the Tribbles?
Oh, yeah. Where I had a Tribble.
Is it the Tribbles or is it? No, it's not the Tribbles.
The fuzzy ones.
They're the fuzzy ones. No, it's the one where the society or whatever is operating at that super high level where it sounds like mosquitoes, like yeah. And then when they get super accelerated, everyone else, you need to be brought down from whatever the hell that was. It wasn't the Tribbles. It was something else.
This is the odd thing is beer does that really well. Does it really well?
It really? You slow down with the beer?
Yes.
Interesting.
It is. It's really weird. A lot of my friends, and and again, texture. This is how I understand how fast I talk and things. Just recently from my wife, she had
said
woken
to slow
up.
Down.
There's so many things I could say.
I know. And they're all thinking them. Believe me, they're thinking them.
She came. She wakes up. I'm up in the morning doing some radio. She wakes up. She comes downstairs, and I start talking to her. And she has her cup of coffee. She turns towards me and goes, "Hang on a second. You're a bit much right now." And I'm like, "Sorry."
Yeah. Take
I get
your
it.
Ritalin or whatever it is that they prescribe you at that age. I don't know if you're allowed to have that.
Here's the thing. Talk about the podcast, and you listen at 1.5. I listen at 2.5.
What?
Yeah. That's
okay. Now I'm pretty sure that sounds like
it goes. Yeah, it's really quick. Yeah, I listen at 2.5 normally.
I'm going to try it just to see, but that's the one where if your mind wanders, you miss a page.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
I don't do it on all of them, but there are very specific ones that, sometimes I'll go back down to like 2 times speed, but if I really prefer to do 2.5 because it goes really, really fast.
Yeah, it does.
It really quickly.
Well, of course.
But I'll slow
Why
down
not 3.
For some of them, I'll go down to 2. And that's a really nice, that seems very casual to me and very easy because that's normally what's happening inside my head, minimum. Yeah. It's not easy. And they have good ideas though, all the people.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. In fact, you're not even listening to Audible.
No. There's a monologue. There's several monologues going on inside this head all the time. And yeah.
Our friend Corey says, I have the same problem. Billy, friend told me this. Your mouth is just trying to keep up with your brain.
Yes. Yeah. Normally when we are talking, I'm 3 or 4 sentences ahead.
Is that
normally?
It?
Yeah, normally.
That's good
minimum.
For speechifying.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
That's
minimum.
Good that would be good for trial work.
Yeah. And that's sometimes why I flip names like the Anthony Gordon and those. And that's why, because I'm so far down the road.
You've already skipped past that. You've missed it in the Rolodex.
That in the details doesn't matter at that point. So
somebody also suggested, hey, let's do something super crazy and break at 6:10. Well, I wish I'd have read that one earlier.
I mean, we'll have to break at the time.
Here's what we could do. We could break now, give you time for the Thorpe report, and actually maybe even get in the sound and the music.
Wow.
And do we have an advertiser for the
we got lots of advertisers. The one I've got to pick is who do I want to cash the check from and which one is not going to get us in trouble with HR?
Let's do this. Let's cut away for a break. We'll come back. This is uncharacteristic. I think we've been in the 40s every day in 2024, as far as I know. Hey, stick around. It's George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. Puxatawny Phil tells us there's going to be an early spring summoned from his tree stump in Gobbler's Knob. Billy, was that going to be part of your news?
Well, there's so many things I could say about Gobbler's Knob, but no, I'm not going to include that.
Well, I know that was your nickname in college.
Yes, that was my dancer name.
That is, it still is. Yes. Early spring, folks. Thank you, Puxatawny Phil. And last, a text from Alexa. Don't break it all the first hour. Sadly,
that sounds like a challenge.
And we should have taken her up on that. Let's get right to it. It's the Thorpe Report with Billy T.
Hey, good morning. We had a strong storm that is going to lead to possible several inches of snow in our mountains, and we could get some rain and snow in and around Denver. Winter storm watches in effect for most of the higher elevations. So watch out this weekend. Just going to get colder and probably see some rain moving into our metro area tonight. Construction continues at a micro community in Denver's Overland neighborhood, but that's kind of a surprise because a neighborhood group had won an appeal earlier in the week saying no more construction. Let's take a pause and figure this out.
Wow.
But the city, surprisingly enough, said, no. We're just going to keep doing this. The city has filed an immediate secondary permit, which was granted. So that's why they were allowed to continue work, which is fair. Again, that's your government in action, people. The people went there and they said, no. We don't want this happening. So the court said, yes, I will stop this permit from happening. So the city went and just got a different permit.
That's genius.
I know.
That's the kind of thing my kids would do.
Exactly.
The details of the promise.
I know. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, friend of the show, announced yesterday that the state is going to receive almost $6 million as part of a national opioid lawsuit settlement. He said he promptly made reservations for Hawaii. Public Health.
That's a great one.
I may have added that.
That's great.
Public Health has agreed to pay $350 million to several states impacted by the way that it marketed opioids. That's interesting that they got the people that were advertising the pills, not just the pill makers. I think that's a really interesting court case.
The other part of this thing that nobody talks about is that money, which Phil got in our name on our behalf because of damages done to us.
Yep.
That money does not go to the state treasury to be distributed by our legislature. Instead, it's these custodial funds where Phil gets to decide how they get dispersed throughout the state. So a guy who wants to be governor, this has been going on for years, gets to show up in communities far and wide and say, I'd like to give grants away to your community. Oh, this is real. This is taking place every day.
I'm sure it is, but here's the idea. This is why I think it's so funny is, of course, the government set up the idea and the functionality. Of course, they would go, well, if we get a whole bunch of free money from people because they did some bad stuff, the one thing that we shouldn't do is allow the elected representatives to decide how to distribute it. We need to keep this secret in this other group of pile, and then we get to decide what to do it. I'm like, ooh, that's a shrewd move.
This would be the equivalent of super plaintiff's attorney Dan J. Kaplis getting a huge settlement for someone and then going and telling them, I know how to spend this money for you. And they'd be like, but wait, am I not the one that suffered the injuries? You're like, no, I got this.
Have you invested in the Daniel J. Kaplis retirement fund?
Right. Like I really feel like what you want to do is to put on a deck on the side of your house. Like I don't need a deck on the side of my house.
And then on the side of my house.
And a third swamp cooler. Like I don't need a third swamp cooler. The one's fine. I got this. Don't worry about it.
You've heard all those advertisements on the air, people wanting you to buy gold. I have got the real secret. The next big thing, Pogs. That 90s game. I've got boxes up there. Buy these Pogs.
This is just such a scam that Phil is out there running around getting money on our behalf for our injuries and then saying, I know how to spend this. I got it from here. Thank you, Colorado.
Because already I was so involved in that discussion about grocery mergers. Oh, what are we doing to ourselves? All right, about 80 large dogs removed from a lion's property after the tenant was accused of operating an unlicensed pet animal facility called Just for Jack's Ranch and Sanctuary. They were served an eviction notice, oddly enough, because didn't have any of the permits. That's weird. You'd think that would have
Denver could get them some.
Yeah, exactly. You think that would have come up earlier.
There's also a texter who said, I really appreciate Billy referring to Phil as friend of the show.
Thank you so much. I love it when you get the little jokes that you sprinkle in here. The Aurora Police Department is investigating after a man was fatally shot in Aurora yesterday morning. Happened to the 12,100. That's an easy word. Block of East Floyd Avenue. Just after 10 in the morning, officers arrived and found a 33-year-old man suffering from a gunshot wound. They performed life-saving actions until medical personnel arrived. He was taken to the hospital and passed away from his injuries. Investigations going on. No arrests have been made. Speaking of investigations, our Colorado Bureau of Investigations is going to spend about $7.5 million to remedy problems with DNA samples. They discovered anomalies in DNA testing work of one Yvonne Missy Woods last year and started internal and criminal investigations. She worked for CBI for 29 years and left the agency before the publicly announced anomalies in November, but evidently she was cutting corners on the work.
Buddy, I'm certain she has testified in the 18th Judicial District while I was DA all over the state, man. She would go all over the state. I wonder if that cutting the corners thing is going to result in any cases being upended.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure
Unbelievable.
Someone's going to get it. Yeah. A man walked into, and again, the idea is they're going to be criminals that are not going to be held responsible for their crimes because someone involved in the process decided to not do their job properly.
Just craziness.
Yay.
The worst part would be if there were people that were, and this one's harder for me to think happen much because of the way the DNA works, but there could be somebody sitting in prison who isn't good for the crime.
Yes.
Like that's worse to me than the idea that we end up cutting some of these guys loose a little early. Like if there's someone in there rotting away because somebody forgot to carry a 2 or something like that.
Exactly. Like what is this? And this is an interesting idea. A man walked into a Boulder car dealership, picked out a shiny new GMC pickup truck, wrote them a $92,000 check, and they just gave him the keys. Oddly enough, the check bounced.
Checks?
I know.
Who takes checks, man?
Exactly. Who does? And especially a personal check. Not a money order or a cashier's check, something like that.
I gotta believe somebody at that dealership isn't employed today.
Yeah, exactly. Someone in the finance department is probably looking for a new job. It's Mike Maroney, GMC dealership in Boulder, called Weld County Sheriff's Office to report the stolen truck. Obviously, they were able to track it down because those new trucks have things like OnStar and GPS. So they found it in a Pike National Forest parked in a snowed-in forest road. And also, Jefferson County wants to make the punishment for hurting their canine officers greater than it currently is because they go on hundreds of calls per year, but the punishment for injuring or even killing one of the 4-legged officers is much different than killing the human officers.
I'll take that.
And I get it, but again, should it be equal? Probably not, but should we increase it? Absolutely. Yeah. Those dogs are there to do a job. You know what the dog's doing. Yep. You're going to injure or hurt that dog. To me, it's the same as attacking a human that is wearing the badge. You're attacking a member of law enforcement. Now, will I hold the punishment equivalent because it's the dog versus human? No. But should it be similar? Hell yeah. Would I vote for the punishment being taking the person that killed the canine dog and putting them into a room with trainee dogs? Yeah.
Or the cop snakes.
Yep.
Like what happens when cop snakes are doing their job? Exactly. And people come along and try to choke the snake out or something, or wing it around because it has a guinea pig in its mouth.
That's the one thing that you are not allowed to do is choke the snake, especially in front of other people. And I think my job is done here. Back to you, sir.
Well, there's no better way to end this week on that Thorpe Report. Listen, stick around. We're going to come back, and I think we're going to be able to get some music and an advertiser on this Friday edition of You Choose the News. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. Let's do it the right way. It's time for You Choose the News. William?
Wait, the right way? You haven't been paying attention to the show?
I guess it's all relative.
Yeah, it is true, sir. All righty, yes, it is the loser edition of You Choose the News.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser.
You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser.
You are such a loser.
Loser.
Yes, it is the loser edition. These are the stories that George deemed unworthy of discussion earlier in the week, but they get a second shot at glory. You know how you play this game. Stupid stories. We scour the internet, give them even dumber headlines to play this game because people in charge have no idea. They don't wake up until later. So, alrighty, sir. And we have a very special advertiser that has rushed a check into here.
Sweet.
They are paying double in order to make sure they are done with loser edition today. So it is very important. Here we go, sir. Your choices this morning. School bans advertising. Headline number 2, it's all about the Benjamins. Headline number 3, that's not a souvenir. And headline number 4, your EV is hungry.
That's not a souvenir.
That is not a souvenir. We're going to Mason County, Washington. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking people to please return their radar trailer. Yes, the little thing they put at the side of the road and you drive by and it says your speed is 45 miles per hour and then tells you to slow down or something. Well, someone absconded with their trailer recently and they would like it back. They said that you need to be looking for a white male, apparently in his 30s, cruising in a black 90s Ford short box truck because evidently he came up and attached himself to the radar trailer and just took it home, thinking that maybe he brings it home. Yeah. Now, you know what I've done? I'm not always the best example for children. Surprise.
Not always.
Not always.
I appreciate you left the door open for sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I might have enlisted 2 of my children. We had one of those speed trailers in our neighborhood at one point over near the park. I might have enlisted my kids to help me make large cardboard signs in which we hung underneath the trailer, and it said high score 97. Might have done that.
Perfect.
Might have. Alrighty, sir. Next choice. School bans advertising. All about the Benjamins. Your EV is hungry.
Benjamins.
It is all about the Benjamins. Brown, Yale, Columbia are going to have to pay $62 million in a lawsuit because they were favoring wealthy applicants over kids that actually had the grades. Surprise. Like that never happens. Yes. In this lawsuit, even University of Chicago.
You mean non-Asians?
Yeah. Chicago, Vanderbilt, Emory, Rice have already reached settlements in this case. Basically, they found out that the kids that have the big bank accounts were getting into the schools despite having scores that many times wouldn't even qualify them for those schools. But bank account. They also went in and found that legacy admissions to many of those Ivy League schools and everything else, oddly enough, when the family's bank account starts draining and they don't reach a certain level, legacy admissions don't get admitted anymore. That's weird, huh? Isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
weird.
when the family's no longer rich, they don't do the legacy thing.
Huh?
That's odd. It's weird. It's
the
almost
homeless
as if
don't have legacy options.
I mean, it's almost as if the legacy thing didn't matter and it was more about the Benjamins.
Who knew?
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Let's do it.
All right, school bans advertising, or your EV is hungry.
Your EV is hungry.
Your EV is hungry. Yes. Now, people that drive EVs have a little bit of a problem that they may not tell all of us about. This comes to us from the Miami Herald and especially EV Garage Miami. That is a Sweetwater repair shop that says, man, your EV is hungry because it's constantly eating tires. One of the low-key problems with having an EV has to do with the torque. And they take off the line so quickly, you end up wearing down the tires between 7,000 and 10,000 miles on average. 7,000 to 10,000 having to replace tires.
That's a lot.
Yep. They actually talked to Nick Semmel. He owns a Mercedes EV. And he said, listen, if they told me that I was going to have to replace these tires every 6,000 miles, I wouldn't have done it. So that's it, sir. That is the end of today's You Choose the News and our proud sponsor today. Yes, friend of the show, Phil, has rushed in a check. We are proud to announce it is time to announce a new program, Professor Phil's Hugs for Criminals. Yes, it's helping the criminal, helping understand the grouches in society. Yes, you, sir, need to understand it is not the criminal's fault, even though they made a bad series of choices. It's because you don't understand them. See, if you loved them more, you would understand why they want the stuff you have and would just give it to them. Professor Phil's Hugs for Criminals, starting today.
Hug a Thug, I think, is some of the T-shirts that they sell. Hey, listen, when we come back, Josh Sharf, he's going to be with us. Super smart guy. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here. It's hour 2 of 4 on the George Show, 710 KNUS at 10 o'clock. Of course, we get replaced by Charlie Kirk and then the other big guys, Dennis Prager, Seb Gorka, Brandon Tatum. And then next week, of course, live and local, 6 to 10 a.m., just like always. Bringing up on the VIP line right now, a friend of the show, guy we were going to have on yesterday, but we ended up bumping him for a guy named Ted Harvey because he's running for Congress. Newly minted congressional candidate for the 4th District, Josh Sharf. Josh, tell me about the campaign. No, I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
There's no chance Josh is running.
You say, what if there is? I was going to come in with a Groundhog Day joke, but you didn't even. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, it is Groundhog Day. But let's hear the joke.
See, well, now I just got it. I mean, I don't know. Every day is I got nothing for you with that. But anyway, no, I am not running for I am not running for the 4th CD. The 3rd maybe, but no.
Okay, well, listen, you don't even have to live there. I don't even know if you've ever lived there. You can jump right in.
Apparently, yeah. It's there are no rules about where you can. Well, I guess you have to be a resident of the state that you're in, but
that's it.
Well, not even that. I mean, maybe you just have to have some physical location in the state. But a lot of these guys go to DC, and then they basically live in DC.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Are you following that race at all, by the way, the 10 or 11 candidates that are in there?
I had been. Now it's gotten out of hand. So I'll wait for I will trust the residents of CD4 to sort this out for me.
Oh, I get that, but I want to ask, what's your perception of the race if you know some of the candidates in there? Like, is there a chance that it's somebody not Lauren?
Oh yeah, I mean, you got people. I mean, Lauren came in like last in one of these straw polls, didn't she?
The one up at Fort Lupton, she came in right in the middle, 5th.
Okay, yeah, that's if she were going to win, she would have to be way out ahead. There's just too many people that people know. People know Sonnenberg. People know these other, a lot of these other folks. They know her by reputation, but they have no personal experience with her, with her legislative work. And I just think that and she's politics at this level, at running for Congress, especially in a crowded field, is a lot about relationships. It's a lot about networks that you've built up over time, and she just doesn't have any of that in that district.
It also, though, comes down to things like name ID, cash on hand to be able to flood the digital media world and mailboxes and maybe even airwaves. And she's got that $1.3 to $1.5 million war chest she drug over from the 3rd. And my guess is her name ID is 4 out of 5 of CD4 residents have heard her name. And I don't know about favorability, but I agree with you that it would, under normal circumstances, that'd be a big deal. But if you get 3, 4, 5 people on that ballot, you only need a plurality, man.
Yeah, but I still think she's got an uphill battle there. I've never, at least for the first couple of years, I was somebody who kind of defended her, for the most part. But I think what people know about her is not good for the most part.
Yeah, Lauren's always been good to us. She's always been good to me. She has made some decisions that make her vulnerable. That's for sure.
No, that's really all I mean in terms of her. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not saying she's, and I want to be very careful about that. I don't want to make sort of. I'm saying what people know in terms of what people know about her in terms of her congressional service is not necessarily going to be helpful.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk a little international stuff? Some Israel stuff. Now, are we allowed to talk about this thing that you're going to do or not?
Yeah, no, we can talk about that.
Well, let's talk about it.
I'm planning to go over to Israel for the next couple of weeks and volunteer. And I'm not joining the IDF.
That's what I was going to ask. You picking up a rifle, standing a post?
No, nothing like that. But because what's happened is that there's a huge need for this for a couple of reasons. Number one, they called up essentially all of the reserves. Now they've dialed that back a little bit.
Yeah.
But most of the reserves are still are still either in Gaza or on the north, or dealing with stuff in the West Bank occasionally too. And so they're people who would be at home, who would be working, are not there, and so the economy's taking a bit of a hit. Number two, for obvious reasons, there aren't a whole lot of Arab workers coming across the Green Line to do the kind of work that they had done before, coming out of the West Bank, and certainly not out of Gaza. And so there's a huge need for agricultural workers, for people to go and just bring crops in. So there's a lot of that.
Do you have some skills you're bringing to that? I mean, is this from your cultivation of weed in the basement of your place in college kind of a thing? Like, what are you doing?
No, I don't. No, they're going to have to teach me how to pick, whatever potatoes or whatever it is we're going to be doing. But there's, so you can go on there are a number of groups that are organizing day trips to farms that need it. And so you can do that as well. There's, you can visit soldiers in the hospital. That's a big deal, right? I mean, a guy's sitting in, he's recovering from a war injury, and he's sitting in the hospital, and that can be a long-term thing that he's there, and it can be kind of lonely. So it's always nice to feel appreciated that way. There's stuff that you can do remember in the north, in the south too, but in the north there are a lot of displaced families because of Hezbollah targets civilian areas too, and so there are things you can do to help out with the kids in the hotel, activities and so forth for them as well. There's a ton of stuff that needs to be done. Packing stuff for the troops, packing sandwiches for that matter for the troops, going and packing food for, like I say, for displaced families. A ton of stuff that needs to be done, and to be able to go over there and contribute to that is really. I think it'll be meaningful for me, but I think it's also.
What part of the country are you going to be in? Did they tell you? I mean, are you going to be down in Gaza City or something, or where are you going?
I'm gonna be building a new synagogue in Gaza. No, there's no, I'm actually going to be staying with someone that Neil Dubrow.
Oh yeah, Neil's great. Neil extended an invitation to Billy and I when we were gonna. Well, I was gonna actually go out there, and then turns out DOD at the time was like, maybe if you're a DOD person, we're just gonna sit back for a little bit here and figure this out.
That's probably wise.
Yeah.
But I have no such encumbrances, so I'll be going over there, and then I'll be doing these sort of day excursions out from where he lives, which is just south of Jerusalem. So
that's really cool, man. Neil's a solid dude. In terms of what's going on over there in Israel, we know that the IDF is still operating in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. I think so far they have claimed 10,000 Hamas fighters or bad guys. I don't know if they're all Hamas fighters that they have taken down. That's a ton, by the way. Any idea how long this continues on, or what the plan is? That the cries for ceasefire continue from all sorts of people who think that you can negotiate with baby beheading rapists for some sort of a peace or something like that. What's going on?
Well, I think you're giving the people who are crying for a ceasefire the benefit of the doubt. I think frankly they just don't want Israel to win. And so I take a much dimmer view of people who are calling for a ceasefire. But these are
the from the river to the sea people.
Yeah. I mean, those are the people who just don't. And unfortunately, we've in the U.S. Have gotten into this habit of not winning. And we've talked about this before. We've gotten in the habit of not winning wars and not understanding the concept of truly defeating an enemy. And Israel doesn't really have that option. Yeah. They have to truly defeat Hamas. And so you start to see a little bit more of the resentment in the West Bank, in Gaza against Hamas for having brought this on them. And that's an important aspect of what victory will look like. I think we also need to be careful a little bit about the numbers. Not that they're wrong, but that they're not necessarily a useful metric. We got into that trap, if you remember. The U.S. got into that trap in Vietnam when the Pentagon would announce,
daily totals. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Totals, and it sounded really good. And the problem is that it didn't, because there was outside help, it didn't necessarily degrade. It wasn't until after Tet and the U.S. got very serious about defeating the VC, that they went away, and then after that, the fighting was. There's no regular army to sort of replace Hamas in Gaza. So it's it's got to be defeated. The one thing that you do see that's really important is, and Israel's talked about this, is that operationally, Hamas is no longer operating as a unified force. So there's still individual units that can operate, but there's no central command and control, really, in a real sense. And that enough of the leadership has been taken, not the top level leadership, but the operational leadership, sort of mid-level and lower level commanders who understand the neighborhoods, who understand how to operate. So their individual units still have cohesion, but not large scale operations. And that's really important because it means you can isolate and take out these units as you go along.
Can I ask your opinion, by the way, because those units are probably still being resourced at some level by Iran or someone who is, one of these militia forces that Iran is supporting else. I wanted to ask you before we got off of the Israel topic too. We had 3 soldiers die in northern Jordan up there by the Syrian border, and the calls for Biden to take action. And he has, I don't know what action he's taken so far, but he's done that very Obama, chemical weapons in Syria thing. Like, I will draw this line in the sand. Do not cross this line. And if you do, I will draw another line in the sand, that kind of thing. And then there will be so many lines. You will hate it because you want smooth sand, but there'll be lines in this sand, stuff like that. What has happened and what should happen as a result of this? Keeping in mind, and I think folks need to know this, those are deaths, 3 deaths of Americans, and there were a bunch of injuries. But it was like the 150th drone attack, right? Like, this wasn't an anomaly. This has been going on forever.
Well, and what's also been lost in this, before I go into that, we also lost 2 sailors in the Red Sea in what amounted to a naval battle with a shore battery of the Houthis. And there was a ship that they were trying to deal with, and we lost a couple of SEALs there too. That has not been widely reported. So this is not these are not the first combat deaths that the U.S. has seen. I think Biden has got. Listen, I think the inclination of the administration is to find a way to abandon Syria and Iraq. I don't think they've done a terrible job of explaining why we're still there. And as you know, one of the hardest things to do, though, is to reduce posture. Is to pull back from an area to reduce your footprint. That's a very difficult thing for the Pentagon to do. And so, and there are reasons that we're there. I mean, we're interdicting Iranian stuff. We're making operations for Iran more difficult, outside of their borders. What we should do is, and this is going to sound a bit, perhaps a bit radical, but what we should do is target something in Iran of serious significance, of serious military significance, and end it. Go in and we don't go in on the ground. I mean, we have air superiority.
So this is all just aircraft and missiles and such?
Aircraft and missiles, yeah. Just go something of serious significance to Iran and inside the country and take it out. And then listen, you guys, because that's the head of the beast.
Is that what they want, though? Is that the way to broaden the war and suck us into it?
No, that's not what Iran wants. What Iran wants is for us to leave. And so what they're doing is they're doing everything possible to make it painful for us to operate around the periphery, because they know that we're not going to go into Iran. And again, nobody's talking about ground troops, but they know that we're not going to attack anything inside Iran. So, we can't destroy Hezbollah that way. We can't destroy Hamas. We can't destroy the Houthis that way. What we can do is force Iran to pull back by attacking them. And we won't do that. We won't do that.
I don't know why we won't. I like it. What do you think there's a risk there of, if we do that, of making it tougher on other countries like Saudi Arabia to sit on the sidelines and sort of say things but not do things?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're sort of trying to reconstitute the relationship with Saudi at this point. Saudi is not. in a position to conduct offensive operations. Let's put it that way. I mean, they don't have, they're primarily on the defensive in these things. They may be a base of operations like they were in the Gulf War, but they're not in the first Gulf War. But they're not going to be conducting a lot of offensive operations on their own. I mean, I think the concern here is that what Iran wants to do is to drive the U.S. out of the region under fire, sort of a large scale what we saw in Afghanistan. If it doesn't involve the same number of losses of troops, that's not the point. The point is to get us to abandon the region.
We're talking with Josh Sharf from the Independence Institute, soon to be farmer in Israel or something. He doesn't know, sandwich maker. He's going there to help out the cause. Hey, can we shift gears a little bit to that other conflict that we're sort of helping with in Ukraine? What's the update? Any end in sight there?
No. I mean, right now it's sort of the winter.
Where's
no,
the good
there's
news,
no end
Josh?
in sight.
Good Lord.
Well, actually, you come to the wrong address for that. There's no. I mean, there's no. I mean, it's not that there's no good news. There's just not a whole lot of news there. People are sort of gearing up for what will happen in the spring. I don't think that Russia is kind of gathering its forces, replacing its people. I don't know that it's going to conduct a whole lot of breakthrough offensive operations right now. One of the things that it's doing is working with, to go back to that, working with Iran to get more drones and more offensive missiles that it can use to strike inside Ukraine. Ukraine is hoping for U.S. money of some sort. Now there's talk of trying to find a way to confiscate Russian assets in the Western banking system, that we could then turn that over to Ukraine. I'm iffy about confiscating private assets. I don't know that it would be the worst thing in the world to confiscate Russian government assets. But
interesting.
But I think that's being floated as a way to get around Congress's not being willing to, not being able to pass an aid package.
Well, that's another question I was going to ask you, is how important is it to whatever's going on in Ukraine right now that this immigration Ukraine thing go through? And it's not,
it's
by
very
the way, but
it's very important to Ukraine that happened, because we're the lead financiers of this, and other countries will be less likely to pitch in money if we don't. And that's not an argument, by the way, to surrender on the border. I think that there, aside from wanting an issue, which I don't think is the major driver here. I know McConnell sort of wanted to blame Trump and say, well, we had this deal, and then Trump said he didn't want to hand them a victory. He wanted the issue more than the deal. I think, and I'm not a Mitch McConnell hater, but I think he's looking to shift blame on this one, because it really, what is being floated out of the Senate is not really a very good deal.
Why isn't it a good deal? Talk about that.
Well, because if Biden's not going to enforce the laws that we have, telling him, okay, this time we really mean it. We really want you to enforce the law, and here's what we're willing to give you in order to do that. There's no reason to believe he'll be any more aggressive allowing 5,000 in a day than he would be allowing 1,000.
I agree with that, but I thought that, and maybe this is my misunderstanding of the laws as they are, which happens every day, but my thought was this particular change updated the asylum law such that, like right now, folks show up all the time and just simply say, hey, I'm scared to go back to my country because of fill in the blank. And somehow that golden language, that magical language, gets them not only across the border, but gets them that CPB or CFB, whatever it is, one thing that they can come back in 4 or 5 years to have their asylum claim adjudicated. And this would do that differently. This would limit the number. Right now, I think it's limitless, but they would limit that number. And then after 5,000, which is an incredible number, like they could definitely reduce that number, but then they could just simply shut down the border to la-di-da-di everybody and push back in that way. Am I misreading that?
They could, but right now the law is that people coming across who are not claiming asylum have to be detained. That's the law. They have to be detained, and the administration is not doing that.
Is that the parole thing, or is the parole thing with the asylum seekers?
Yeah. No, that's the parole thing. It's not just with the asylum seekers.
Yeah, we were talking
you
about
have this guy who who like attacked 2 New York City cops.
Right. I saw
He's
those
been
thugs.
released. Yeah, I mean, he's been released, with no bail. I mean, there's no seriousness about this.
Well,
about defending the border.
I don't
And so
want anyone
see
to
why there
hear
would be
me.
any more. And I don't think there would be any more seriousness under this deal than the other one. And to just sort of tie back into Ukraine for a moment, and that it's easy for the Democrats to say, well, the Republicans care more about the border than more about beating up on asylum seekers from South America than they do about defending Ukraine, which is our national and so forth. And again, I'm me. I mean, I back our support of Ukraine against Russia.
Right.
But it goes the other way too. If Ukraine's so important and the border is not so important, then why aren't you willing to give on that in order to get what you want? So it works both ways.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I don't think that thing's going to go anywhere. I mean, Johnson over in the House has said, I don't even know what's in the bill. I don't care. It's not going to survive over here. And now what's his name? The guy from Tennessee that they signed up to head the negotiation, super conservative guy. Now he's getting vilified for even participating in the conversations. I don't think that thing's going to go anywhere. I don't know what political issue that becomes moving forward, but I do think the border, and I was going to ask you this, Josh, in my opinion, the border and the immigration crisis, now that Greg Abbott has done us the favor of shipping all these people to cities that, claim themselves to be sanctuary cities that dealt with 1 or 2 people every year, that is going to become the biggest issue in the campaign. Is something else going to dwarf that, do you think?
Well, I think they'll try. I mean, I think that Trump's ongoing legal issues are just going to be in the paper forever, and that's going to be this constant drumbeat. But I think what the administration's got a real problem, though. So first of all credit to Abbott. Between he and what DeSantis did in terms of shipping these to areas that, like you say, never really had to deal with the problem. That fundamentally changed the conversation about immigration. And now saying, that they're going to put up this concertina wire, they're going to put up this razor wire, and they're going to defend it, but they're going to build a wall if they have to. And they will put, and now it won't necessarily look like, but they're going to increase the physical structure on the border as well, and in effect daring the federal government, which currently, because of the court order, could go in and tear that down, but there's nothing in the order that keeps Texas from building more. And so the administration's got a real political problem. They can't appear to be going in and physically opening the border to allow people to flood in.
Yeah, I agree.
And they've also got a coalition issue, because this puts, especially the strain on the cities, and you've seen this in a couple of places, this puts sort of core constituencies in their coalition. It pits them against each other. And so there's the administration has a real problem here politically about what to do. My guess is that they will probably try to selectively prosecute people for participating in putting up these barriers, and how high up they're willing to go.
But the barriers themselves are not illegal, right? Like, all that the Supreme Court said was feds can come in and chop them up, but there was no ruling by the Supreme Court that the state couldn't put them up, right?
That's right. And there's also, and it wasn't really a hearing on the merits.
That's true too.
It was more of a procedural hearing. Now, you can argue that, well, this was a ruling that why would they want to go back and overturn precedent that stretches all the way back to the Obama administration? I mean, right? I mean, this is a relatively recent ruling that creates this problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And so, but the court tends to be very deliberate, and it probably wants to hear a full, before any sort of ruling on the merit, it wants to hear a full airing of that case. So what they basically did was said, well, the Fifth Circuit kind of overstretched here, and we will let the administration tear this stuff down. But you're right, there is nothing in the ruling that keeps Texas from turning right around and putting it back up. But the optics of the federal, in terms of the Texas National Guard, the administration's options are very limited. They could nationalize the Guard and then order those same people to tear down what they put up, and we'll see how that goes. and then they could take it and they could ship the guard overseas. They could tell them all to go home. I mean, the options there are kind of heavy-handed, which is why I think they will try to get something that operates a little bit less visually in order to get them to stop doing it. Because if you're going to go to jail for putting up razor wire, then maybe you think twice about that. So
maybe, but it's Texas. I mean, you know, I don't see that. I don't see that being a deterrent. The Texans down there, they still want to be their own country at some point, you know?
Well, they sort of have that vision in their heads. But the other thing is there's some other states that have also sent down guard troops as well. So how widely do you want? And the response by the in effect the Republican governors to this was pretty unified. And so I think, and they'll also be looking at legal options as well. So, you know, there's a this is not a simple problem for the administration. By the way, the 5,000 number, you know, that sounds like a lot. It is.
Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, it turns out
the administration. This is under Obama, where the it was either the DHS guy or one of them said 1,000 people a day coming across constitutes a real crisis. You're in about 5 times that number. So this is a real problem for the administration.
Josh Sharf, I could talk to you all morning, and yet I'm not allowed to talk to you all morning. It's just baked right into the FCC rules and regs. We're going to have you back in the future, buddy. Thank you for the time. You've always been good to us. Stay in touch, would you?
Thank you. I will. And thank you very much, George. I appreciate it.
Always, man. Talk to you soon. Hey, that's Josh Sharf from the Independence Institute. You can check out his ramblings and writings right there on the ii.org website. Let's do this. Let's cut away for a break. I can see him right now. He's dressed in a monkey suit, which tells me that lawsuit is finally going to court. And I hope he can defend himself well with huge breaking news coming up after this break. A guy whose name rhymes with Hef Junt right here in the studio. It's George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. My thanks to Josh Sharf from the Independence Institute. I don't know how that guy has time to do anything else like feed himself or keep up with personal hygiene, because it seems like he knows something about everything. And frankly, I hope that he's able to call into the station and do his stuff while he's in Israel making sandwiches or growing weed for the troops or whatever the hell it is he's going to do out there in Israel for the cause. In studio right now, special guest, no stranger to 710 listeners, has a big, huge announcement and an ankle monitor. And I'd like to talk about both of those things. In the studio with us right now, Jeff Hunt. Jeff, how are you, man?
Hey, George, great to be with you, brother.
You are looking like $1 million. You've got
Thank
the
you.
suit on, clean suit, shirt
Right.
and tie. Well, every once in a while you see people wandering around Denver in suits and you're like, that hasn't seen a laundromat in years. You know what I mean? That hasn't seen it. Yours looks very good. So big breaking news. I don't want to steal anything from you. I feel like you want to make an announcement, and that is about you and Billy.
Yeah. Bill and I are taking our relationship to another level, literally. So we'll just let that simmer, and then let the media.
I want to wait for
tweet
the 9
about
News
that.
posts.
Right. Bill, well, the truth is, Bill and I are taking our relationship to another level, because Monday, starting this next Monday from 6 to 10 a.m., will be the Jeff and Bill show on 710 KNUS.
Wait, that's when I'm on.
Right.
I don't,
George, we have something we need to talk to you about.
I feel like this is a Jerry Maguire moment, right? Where it's like, you did this here, so I wouldn't cause a big scene. Well, if I had Stephen Tubbs' BS button, I would be pressing that a lot right now, the curse button. Jeff, and what's the name of the show? Something really catchy, like Wake Up with.
The Jeff and Bill show. Yeah, the real, there's a lot of creativity that went behind the name of that title.
The Jeff and Bill show. Did you guys sweat over whether or not to capitalize both names or go sort of E.E. Cummings lowercase across the
emojis?
Well, and
that one's not chocolate.
Yeah, that's not an eggplant.
Yeah.
Hunt and Thorpe sounded more like a law firm.
Or someone that makes really nice sheets for your bed. You know what I mean? Like, try the new Hunt and Thorpe sheets, 1,000 count thread. You know what I mean? They don't need to be washed much, that kind of thing.
Right. No, it's exciting. And that means that you're going to be
not on the air,
off doing something else. And this was a personal choice of yours. This was not. This was not a movement of the station by any means.
No. By personal choice, people should read between the lines and see FCC in there. But I am definitely not going to be back in the saddle here starting Monday. Exciting times, by the way, for 710 listeners as you guys take over the show. And this is something that I experienced when I ended up. Replace is too strong because I can't replace Pete. But when Pete made the decision to go and I have filled in, you can't just do the same damn show. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be Pete Boyles. And good news for you and your family is you can't be me. And that's really exciting stuff. Tell us what you guys have in store. If you can reveal already, I don't want to give away any state secrets here, but
yeah, so the format will be changing just a little bit. We'll be bringing in some additional folks. So we'll have live news reads, and Bill and I are basically going to kind of co-host the show together. So you'll still get to have all of Bill's radical leftism brought on a daily basis, and
mixed in with soccer and snakes. Right. Don't lose the soccer and snakes part.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I walked in today and he's like, "Look at all my snakes,"
and I didn't know what I was getting into. Tell me he was showing you a phone.
Yeah, it was
okay because I don't. My God, I don't think the folks at CCU can appreciate Billy and his snake.
He's a big snake fan.
Yeah. So. Well. Oh, sweet goodness. So Bill. So Jeff and Bill. Is it Jeff and Bill or Jeff and Billy?
It's the Jeff.
Bill. So you've gone
Jeff
with
the
show. Shorter, little more sophisticated. Why not William or Willie T or something like that? A little more morning showish.
It sounds more like I'm running for president.
Bill, Jeff and Bill.
Also, I haven't been William in ever.
Ever? Not even at Mullen? No one ever called William Thorpe?
No, I did have early on. There was a nickname early on in radio, but it was Young William for a number of reasons because I was the youngest one on the entire staff. And
Young William sounds like you're sort of an English prince in waiting or something like that.
That's the thing that they did is the guy that would do it goes, and Young William, that was the joke. So that's,
I don't think Jeff and Young William works. That seems awkward. That seems like a website. I don't think we want that at all.
No.
Jeff, let's do this because folks know you from being on the radio. They know you from being the tip of the spear for the Centennial Institute, for the Western Conservative Summit, which has been going great gangbusters forever. Let's get a little bit of background for you. If you were going to introduce yourself to the listeners, all 10 of them at this point, now that as you grow this from 10 to 20, and by the way, that'll be magical. Tell folks about your background.
I am the only person in America, I genuinely believe this, that worked for Mitt Romney and spoke at a Bikers for Trump rally and was introduced at the Bikers for Trump rally as having worked for Mitt Romney. And I was very lucky to get out of there.
Were you booed at all? Did chains come out?
Yeah, no, they did. I
blades?
turned to the announcer and I was like, really?
Yeah. they passed you around like a beach ball at a graduation or something.
So I grew up here in Colorado, class of 2000, Cherry Creek High School. So,
I've never heard of that one. Where's that?
Yeah, right.
Is that a big one?
Little school,
little
down the street there.
Yeah, it's a community college, really, of sorts. So you graduate class of 2000.
Yep.
I'm just doing the math in my head.
42.
Screw you for your age. Yeah,
42.
I'm just saying screw you for your age. Billy,
Billy
wants to
that
jump.
different.
I'm 43, but
right.
the hard way. I mean, this radio thing will take it out of you, man. When I started this job, I looked like a young Ricky Schroeder, and now I look like Anderson Cooper's older sick brother.
Yeah, there's a little Anderson Cooper side to you.
I get it all the time.
By the way, I do have a list of things that you may be doing, and we can cover this in a second. But if you want to guess as to what George is going to be doing, please text in.
Yeah, please text in. Text in on the app.
Live.
Hell, at some point here in the 8 o'clock hour, because you're going to stick around with us.
That's right.
We're probably going to take calls, man. 303. Here's what we're doing this on the fly, folks. This is not pre-planned. One, I'm going to ask Billy to get dressed again. But two, just because the camera might be on him. But two, maybe in that next hour, we switch seats. You take the helm, you've got the steering wheel, and then you rock the phones. So it's like you've done this before, and now it's in the role of Jeff Hunt from the Jeff and Bill Show.
The Jeff and Bill Show. We can do that.
Can I ask before we get into your background some more, because I do have some very, very interesting questions that could lead to criminal liability.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Does Bill have the ability in the Jeff and Bill Show to just simply cut you off on the mic?
I always have that ability.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he always does. He runs the board.
Yeah.
So he ultimately
I have the power, but I have the ability.
I would, he puts the bill in ability. I would love it if you guys could be in the studio together. But for folks that don't get on the YouTubes or the Rumble, what you can't tell is where Billy sits. He is like the Chekhov meets Sulu managing the Starship Enterprise, right? Like this guy has so many buttons to press and all this other stuff. And when things go wrong, I think it's important that we blame people that aren't here. It's Geronimo and James that are to blame for this, but really Billy has the ability to fix all things. So Billy's going to sit back there behind the glass. You're going to sit in this seat.
Yep.
If I'm you, I negotiate for a new chair because I took over this one from Pete. Stefan was in it. And
There's
now
some stuff that's may have taken
place. There's some things that Lysol hasn't figured out a way to kill yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we thought about going with fire, but Mark Crowley said no.
We might just have to start over.
We can't just start over with a new chair. But so you graduated from Cherry Creek in 2000 after your 5th senior year.
And and then I was off to become a pastor. So very happy to do that. Went off to California, got my degree in religious studies, and then a master's of divinity. And I was actually working at Bel Air Presbyterian Church.
Hold on, where did you go do that? And the decision to pursue faith in California, was it
like? Yeah, no.
Explain that.
I grew up going to Cherry Hills Community Church.
Oh yeah,
and,
big one.
Jim Dixon was the pastor, and I literally have the exact same education he did. So that was the path I was going. I think I was going to kind of lead a church, that type of thing. Yeah. And then I went to a very liberal seminary. And I really didn't have much of a political bone in my body at all. It didn't really engage in
not
politics.
at all in high school. Nothing. Did you know in high school you were going to do the missioner?
Yeah, the pastor stuff. Yeah. I grew up next door to a guy named Jim Nicholson, and so there's a little bit of politics there. My parents bought the back lot from him, and so he was our next door neighbor.
Yeah,
and used to ride horses with him, that type of thing.
That's
so
cool.
A little bit of crossover, but really nothing until I had a liberal professor in grad school and seminary. Then I was like, you are wrong about everything. And if you're going to debate your professor, you got to start studying stuff. So I started listening to John and Ken out in California, two great conservative radio hosts, and then started reading books by a guy named Hugh Hewitt. And so
wait a minute,
that was
Hugh Hewitt. Where is he? Is he in California?
Not, I don't think so right now. I think he's out in DC.
I've
now.
never heard of Hugh.
You never heard
Is he a big guy on the radio
A
or
big
something
guy.
like that?
Yeah. And so Hugh was part of that journey. And then I was young and single. I was like, man, I'm going to head to DC and just see if I like this stuff. So,
And
work for Rick Santorum in the Senate.
I've heard of Rick Santorum.
Rick,
Would have, could
yeah.
have been president one day.
Won 11 states in 2012. I was part of that team. So
Dang.
that was fun.
So far, that's 11 more states than Nikki Haley.
I was going to say
So that's,
than anybody else. That was a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
And so worked for Rick in the Senate, worked in his world for a while. And we were really motivated by a guy named William Wilberforce. Have you ever seen the movie Amazing Grace?
Mhm.
He was the guy that ended the slave trade in England.
Wow.
So a man of faith,
Yeah.
using his
Yep,
values, driving an agenda in the public square. He's still to this day kind of my patron saint, William Wilberforce is. So was around Rick's world for many years in DC, worked on his presidential campaign. And then when he withdrew, we moved back to Colorado to raise our kids here because they just work you to death in DC. If you want to coach your kids, it's just
Clearly
not
you
the
got
right city to be in.
married in between you being the single guy going to DC and all that. Did you meet your wife out there back here?
We met in college and
Oh,
then
yeah.
reconnected in DC.
Oh.
So she worked in the White House. She was a White House intern.
Wow.
She worked on Capitol Hill. She was an intern for Ed Meese at the Heritage Foundation.
Heard of Ed. Yeah.
And then she's an attorney. So
Why did you go
Dude,
down that road, man? That's
I sat down to take the LSAT and was like, my brain doesn't work this way. I literally got up and walked out. And but she's a lot smarter than me. So she works for Focus on the Family these days.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She's a pro-life analyst and spokesperson. So any type of ballot initiative or judicial decision that comes down with regards to sanctity of life issues, she pops up on the radio and television and explains to people
Does
what's
she
happening.
do stuff? Because you know we're going to have this. I can't tell if it's just going to be like a petition effort onto the ballot or if the legislature will jump in, but we're going to try to enshrine in our Constitution the ability to kill a child up through, I think, age 5 or something like that.
And then, well, they've done that statutorily and they could do it constitutionally, but the end game there is they want you to pay for it. So the goal is if you can constitutionalize it, then
if it's a right,
then we can get the government to pay for it.
And I think that we're going to apply that then to firearms as well. If you have the right to a firearm, the government should also pay for your firearms. I think that's how that works. So does your wife get involved in those issues as well?
Yeah. And provides analysis and writes a lot for Focus on the Family and does a whole bunch of interviews and those things.
So did you know when you were working for Rick Santorum, maybe I'm not going to go down the pastor road anymore?
At that point, it was very cool to see people of strong faith and conviction working to drive Christian conservative values in law. And that was ultimately where I think God created me. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
How did you get hooked up with CCU and the Centennial Institute that you run the show and all that other stuff?
So when we came back, worked for Mitt Romney in the 2012 election as his coalition director in the state of Colorado. Yeah. So we moved back and I got to meet everybody, including John Andrews, who was the founder of the Independence Institute.
Solid conservative.
Founder of the Centennial Institute, has started think tanks all over, was the first editor of Imprimis. Like this guy was, legendary. So got to meet him there. And then we helped market after the Romney campaign. I ran an ad agency where we basically ran all the advertising for all the Republicans in the state of Colorado. And the Centennial Institute was one of our clients. So we did advertisements for the Western Conservative Summit and all their marketing for years. And when that job opened up, I just pinged John. I said, John, I'd love to run this, carry on your legacy, and work for Bill Armstrong, who was then the president of CCU.
You'll figure this out, that it's easy to just have the conversations and ignore the clock, because that's exactly what we've done here. Billy's giving me the signal to break, which looks remarkably like the bird, but we'll have plenty of time to continue this conversation when we're back in studio. Jeff Hunt, the future, along with Billy, of this 6 to 10 a.m. slot. George Brauchler on the last day of the George Show at 7:10 KNUS. You did? Who was it? No, well, listen, I never listen until you come on, Billy, and say we need to start doing the show again. Oh, that hurts. Well, listen, George Brauchler back with your 710 KNUS. Now, look, Jeff Hunt, who's in the studio and taking over the show for me, what are you doing? Am I even talking? I can't even hear me. Jeff Hunt and I getting married later this week. Oh, is that part on? So sorry. Listen, we only have 1 second. That's how we left it.
Hang on, you guys can come back for a minute. Here. Come on, bring it back on. Take you around for a minute. No. Oh, maybe not. I'm going to change it.
Yeah. Are we on?
This is great for Monday.
By the way, there's nothing more fitting than having your last day on the radio as a host of the 6 to 10 a.m. slot go this direction. This is just perfect for it. I can't wait to see what we do in the next couple hours. Listen, I still have Jeff Hunt in here. Jeff, say something like, we're not actually getting married.
No, we're not. No,
we're not going to get married.
It's just an engagement.
Not this week. Yeah, well, it's a civil union more than anything. But we're going to be back. We have a whole nother hour with Jeff from the Jeff and Bill Show, which will premiere here in this slot on Monday, 6 to 10 a.m., and it will be on forever and ever. Stick around and hear what Jeff reveals next. George Brauchler, 710, KNUS. Well, you've made it through the halfway mark of the last show of the George Show right here on 710 KNUS. No, not for the week, but for, I believe, eternity. They have left no door open for me to return. The good folks at Salem and 710 have said, we really don't want you to go, but get out to replace me. And not to replace me, but to start a whole brand new show. Are Jeff and Bill. You've heard of Bill before. We refer to him as Billy. He dropped the Y to join the team so that nobody had more letters in their name than anyone else. So it had to be. What's that, Bill?
Why? Because I like you.
That's exactly right. In studio right now, starting the Jeff and Bill show on Monday, 6 to 10 a.m. That's the slot right here. Jeff Hunt, thanks for sticking around, Jeff.
Absolutely. So a lot of people were getting a lot of text messages on what is George going to do? What's next for him? Right. He was not forced out. This was not a
this wasn't a Jerry Maguire moment. Where, although that would be awesome radio. You know what I mean? If someone were to sit in and say, no, I'm replacing you. And you're like, yeah, that's what?
Right.
You know? Then you see boxes go by the door and you're like, wait, what?
So I have a list of 5 things that George may be doing. And so you can text him what you think he's going to be doing, or if you want to
create your own, create your own,
or if you want to call in and
we'll take calls.
George
303-696-1971.
All right. So here are the 5 things that George may be doing. Elizabeth Epps, cleaning boy.
She's a shut-in, as
house.
You know. She's a shut-in right now, refuses to leave her house to go do her job.
This is the state rep that was angry because she made lots of anti-Semitic comments, and the leadership of the Democrats said, we're going to move you into a post office down in the basement. That's where your office is going to be. She's been so angry. She has not shown up for a single day of work at the state capitol. So it's good.
I don't know if I'd have to get some kind of mop gear or one of those suits that you wear, the chemical suits, to go in and make sure. I don't know how toxic 2-month-old weed is, but I feel like that would be an issue.
And we always know libs are struggle with the cleanliness already, living in a house without showing up to work. Not good. All right. Number 2, Tim Hernandez's barber. That's a full-time job.
Oh my goodness.
He needs a shave.
You know, I've heard that patchouli makes the hair really scissor-proof. If you don't know, I don't know if that's what it is. There's another guy who I hope is doing the same thing that Epps is doing a year from now, and that is not being a legislator. Right. I mean, good gravy, buddy. That guy right there.
Number 3, Joe Biden's ice cream scoop boy.
These are good ones, man.
Full-time job, man. Full-time job. He's not running the country. He needs you to provide ice cream for him.
I would do it, but I refuse to have my hair sniffed. I just won't do it. I won't go down that road. Unless it's, I mean, it depends on the money, I guess. Now that I say it out loud, it depends on how much I'm getting paid.
Right? You know, everybody has a price.
That's true.
Well,
that's absolutely
and we
true.
heard Phil Weiser has what, $6 million now to be able to spend?
It's more than that. I just read an article here, Bill, that says $350 million. I mean, that guy's going to go out there and it's going to be those old memes of some dude like making it rain with the money. He's going around the state. Remember me when I run for governor? Boop, 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 boop. Just shooting out those
going around the state, or George Brauchler serving as his new personal decorator. So there's a lot of money to be spent there.
Oh my goodness. He spends a lot of time not on this radio show. So it'll be nice to re-meet Phil. You know, I love that Billy calls him friend of the show.
Has he ever been on?
Never once. In fact, we had this ongoing thing where Billy would reach out to his spokesperson, who I think is named Pacheco, and Lawrence Pacheco. And at first, they were like 2-paragraph responses, like, right now they're trying to blah, blah, blah. And they finally got to Billy saying, look, any chance we can get Phil on the radio? And he said, let me just put it this way. Phil will come on the radio when the Rockies win the World Series. So come on, Rockies. Come on, Rockies.
They have all the power and they don't feel like talking to anybody.
No. Only talk to the people that like you.
All right. Final one of what George Brauchler may be doing now in his new career after leaving KNUS next week. Mobile dog grooming with Marlin.
These are all well thought out, and outside of the Biden ice scooping one, all local, which I love that as well. I will say that you're half right on one of them. No, I don't.
The mobile,
and I'll let people
Marlin,
think
huh?
there
Marlin.
will be some
the
grooming.
First gentleman of Colorado.
There will be some grooming. I'll be the first groomer I guess.
They don't
I
like
guess I
that
can't
term.
be.
They do not like that term. They were down at the state capitol yelling about that this week.
The groomer thing. 303-696-1971 is the number. We're going to go to the VIP line. He is the magnificent district attorney for the Fight and Fourth Judicial District. Somehow he's found a way to go from the Navy to a landlocked state. Michael Allen. Michael, thanks for joining us, man.
Good morning, George. Hey, best kept secret along the Front Range is that today's the last day, and I tune in this morning driving in and hear that. So I had to call in with some guesses on what your next job's going to
What's it going to be? What's the guess?
So I'm pretty sure one of these is right. First one is that you are going to be Billy Thorpe's snake charmer.
Well, it's not me, but it would have to be a guy.
Okay. You've dropped some hints about this throughout the time on the radio. You use words like Commodore and take the helm. So you finally decided to change out your Army green for Navy blue, and you have joined the Navy.
Listen,
In the Navy.
I would love to do that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Hold on. I just have a slight aversion to seamen, but all I would say is I'm a floater. I'm not a great swimmer, but I'm a floater at this point.
Well, then you'd be great for the surface Navy and not the silent service submarine.
That's right. Someone's going to mistake me as some sort of a Houthi boat. You know what I mean? And try to take me down. Like, who's that one over there? By the way, my hat's off to you guys for coming up with a camouflage pattern that actually matches the ocean. So that if someone falls overboard, you can see the head.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be invisible to anybody that's trying to rescue you.
That's exactly right. That's a good guess, by the way. People may not know this, but way back in the 1980s, before I was born, I had dreams of going to Annapolis, the Naval Academy. I wanted to be a naval officer. And it turns out they cared about things like the acuity of your eyes to pick up on colors. I mean, who just knew that was a big deal? And so I was disqualified based on that. But then the Army said, I think I've told the story. The Army said, you got to go see this one Army eye doctor. So I went and I sat down. There was a series of lights that they show you, and you just have to indicate which color it is, red, white, or green. And then he reached into a drawer and pulled out 2 items. No joke. Held up his left hand. And he goes, what color is that? I said, that's green. And he holds up the other one and he goes, what color's that? I go, that one's red. And he goes, congratulations. And it's just, I'm like, I love the Army. I love the Army. Woo. And it's been a marriage ever since.
Yeah. Final guess for me, and I think this is the right one, is that, Jared Polis wears pennies all the time, right? You have decided to accept his offer to be his shoe shine boy.
That I could probably do both jobs, the dog grooming, the Marlin grooming, or whatever it is it's
mobile dog grooming. You're not grooming.
No. I did. Now that I say it out loud, that was really unintentional. I did not. And then the shoe thing would be fantastic.
I think they go hand in hand. I think Jeff and I are on the right track.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys have gone there. I imagine some of the texters are going to be here. Here's one of the ones, Michael. Someone texted in. I guess stalker Craig Silverman, Knight George.
Oh, that's a good guess. Yeah, that's a good guess.
If anyone has followed that love affair on Twitter, you know that friendship went down fast. That did not work
went
out.
Down in flames.
Oh my goodness. Here's another one. Seems you've been brown nosing capless a lot lately on air. I've been predicting your departure to my wife for that reason. But to be truthful, you've been predicting that departure since the first day I was on the radio. So you were bound to be right at some point. 303-696-1970 on the number. Michael, buddy, thanks. You made the last day special. Thanks for calling in. And I didn't give you a heads up for sure. Like, hey, this is the day, Colin. So I really appreciate you listening, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, I did want to just call in and say thanks for doing this radio show for as long as you have. And you made my drive to work better, usually. Most times. Sometimes not so great, but most times you made it better.
Well, do not be a stranger to Jeff and Bill, because they're going to want to continue to cover the big cases. And whether it's a good or bad thing, man, you seem to own about 75% of them.
All right, man. We'll do.
Michael, we also have no legal guidance anymore here. So if we could rely on that,
a lot of people will say that's not new.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. You didn't have legal guidance with George at the helm either.
Yeah. All right. Michael Allen, District Attorney for the 4th. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, man. Hey, we'll just continue to go with the phone lines here. Love the phone calls at 303-696-1971. It's our friend Dwayne from Divide. Dwayne, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Sorry to hear that you're moving on.
I appreciate that.
But
Thank you.
like I say, I do have a position open since I made that sale last year. I have $4 million to play with, so I can actually pay you more than, standard.
Oh, wait, I'm
basic
in.
Army.
What are we doing? Well, let me hear the job first.
Well, I have to figure out how to make sure all of this is legal because it went through the bank, and the bank. I called the bank and I said, "You'll be seeing a wire transfer." She goes, "How much will it be?" I said, "Oh, substantial." I guess when it hit, the entire building shook because it was that much money, and all sorts of things lit up and all the rest. But that aside, I'm going to say to you what I said to Stepan, and that is, when you see an opportunity, jump. There will be a net.
Yeah.
So find
I hope
yourself
so.
there.
I'd like my net
best
to
for your-
also be $4 million.
Well, listen, I spent 5 years where it was less than 12,000 to take care of myself and the kid. So believe me, I've been blessed in this moment.
Congrats,
I'm going to
man.
go ahead
That's
and work
great.
with it.
Congrats, buddy.
And
That's
speaking
great.
of the kid,
Yeah.
I want the best for your kids. I hope
you,
that
man.
we find a miracle with the stem cells or
Me
something.
too.
You're a man of class. You're
Thanks.
a man of action, and you're a man who sits there and takes things at the proper level. Still can't answer me anything on this LSAT thing I'm trying to figure out.
No,
But at least,
no one can.
you would laugh. You would allow me the moments, pardon me, to come on and express myself on certain things. Mr. Hunt, if you deny Billy you choose the news, those 10 listeners will be 9.
We talked about that yesterday. That is an important component. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I mean, we have to do what we have to do to keep, some sanity in this insane world.
That's right.
And I look forward to working with you. I'm sure that Mr. Brauchler will tell you that I'm not an easy one to deal with. And sometimes I can be a little bit of bullheadedness. So I hear. Somehow I hear a lot of things.
Some have
when I walk
whispered
away
that,
from people.
Dwayne, but not a lot of people out loud. Not a lot of people.
I've heard a lot of people say when I walk away, I hear "what an ass," and I never thought it was that good looking. But I do a lot of, hair stuff and everything.
Well, what a great call to finish up my time here on the air, man. Thanks, Dwayne. And I know you won't be a stranger to Jeff and Bill either. One of the great things about Dwayne and most of the callers that we have on here is they are happy to tell you when they disagree with you or they're happy to challenge. And that's really honestly what makes this show work. I've always treated it like we were at a water cooler somewhere. You know what I mean? You bump into somebody in the office and they're like, "Hey, what about blankety blank? What about that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?" Or something like that. And Dwayne's always been a great part of that, man.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Look forward to chatting with you next week. And yes, I will.
I look forward to seeing your call, Dwayne.
so, as they said in The Devil Wears Prada, gird your loins.
There you go.
Because if you don't, who will? Yeah.
Well,
no, don't answer that, Dwayne. Don't answer
right
that.
Now.
We already had the dog grooming
I'm
thing.
a happy man. Yes.
Dwayne,
no more grooming. They're teenagers.
Don't be a stranger.
Right.
You can find me other ways too, man. So stay in touch. Dwayne, thank you for the phone call, brother. Dwayne's line is open, 303-696-1971. We have full lines, except for Dwayne's is now open. We'll get to Alexa and Jay in just a second. I got to still do some business here and tell you about Mitch Flory at the Art of Granite, who you're going to meet, Jeff,
That's
right?
Today?
When you meet Mitch, there's a couple things. If are you going out to the place out there at about the corner of Colfax and Sixth? First off, you'll be blown away. Whatever expectations you have, it will be different than that because I didn't know what to expect. And so Google will take you out to this place and you get out, or maybe you do, I don't know, Waze or something. You get out there, you go in. The number of giant slabs of beautiful granite and marble and stuff they have is ridiculous. And then they have the court stuff, which is all the man-made stuff. They take you back into Mitch's office. This dude is American through and through. And this is a guy who was born and raised under communist-controlled Romania, under Ceausescu. Oh, yeah, you got to talk to him about it. Guy has American eagle and flag stuff everywhere in his office. And the other cool thing about Mitch is that the number that we give out for him is the number that rings his cell phone. Like, he doesn't like to pass people off to. He has long-term employees, doesn't do the subcontracting work. It's fantastic. And the other thing that I found, and some friends that we have in common, reached out to me by text when I started reading for Mitch, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're reading for Mitch. We used Mitch. We love Mitch. We would use Mitch again for our next house or our upgrade." Fantastic. He also loves 710 listeners. And if you tell him you're a 710 listener, and I guess at this point it's going to be if you tell him you're a George listener or a Jeff and Bill listener, he will do more than the wholesale prices that everybody gets. He is also going to throw in the bathroom countertop for FREE free with the kitchen countertop package. Or If you're just doing the one room, Jeff, he will throw in the sink for free.
Wow.
With the kitchen or with the countertop package. You got to check him out. Call him on that cell phone that rings in his pocket, 303-386-5919, 303-386-5919, or you can check him out at theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. Going right back to the full phone lines. Alexa, you're on 710. What do you got, sister?
I am. I have listened to you since February 22nd of 2020. What a way to start your radio career permanently. But
right there, the
you
COVID,
provided
man.
me, right before COVID.
Yeah.
You have provided me thousands of hours of humor and fun, and I have enjoyed listening to 99% of you. You're not perfect,
if you'd have said 100%, you would have lost all credibility. So thank you.
I know. But I do have 3 guesses. So the first guess is you will be the co-anchor with Sport Coat Boy.
By the way, that would be wonderful television. That would be fantastic.
I would actually turn into 9 News for that.
Although he has skin, Alexa, that is just so perfect, and a forehead that is so wrinkle free, people would mistake this for a father-son show. Do you know what I mean? They'd be like George and his boy Kyle, right? You know.
The second is you're going to become a meteorologist, because God knows you could do the job as good as or better than the current meteorologists that can't forecast worth anything.
You know, I wonder if I couldn't call into the show from time to time and just guess the weather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like break
go.
out my weather Ouija board or something like that and sort of predict. Says hurricane by noon. You know, who knows? No one holds you accountable.
The third is you are going to humble yourself and go work pro bono for Phil Weiser and show him how to actually do a trial and not have to hire people from out of state.
And by hire, you mean bring on board people who aren't licensed to practice law here in Colorado and have never been a local prosecutor for 15 seconds of their career. Listen, I'd be happy to work for Phil on behalf of Colorado.
Such a minor detail to, have someone who actually knows how to, be a DA. So, but
that's right.
You will succeed no matter what you do. Well, there's a couple things you probably would fail at, but you will be successful. And I sincerely wish you all the best. And KNUS has taken another hit with you not being there. So
well, they're actually ramping it up a bit by bringing on the big man here.
So Alexa texts in a bunch. She's like a real life Alexa.
Real life Alexa. And she knows stuff.
She provides a whole bunch of statistics for you throughout the show. When I filled in for you before, she provides really quality.
Buddy, she is the unofficial official historian. She will tell you the day you took over, like a year or 2 or 3 or 4 from now. Alexa will be like, on this day, you said this racial epithet on the air or something. Not that you're going to do that, but she'll remember like you had this guest on. I don't know how she does it. I don't know if she's like Rain Man. You know what I mean? Like she's the Dustin Hoffman character. But Alexa has it all, man.
Alexa, we're going to desperately need you to stick around. I hope you'll be sticking around for the Jeff Mitchell show.
Sure. He did start on Monday through Fridays after Pete on November 1st, 21, and started officially full-time April 4th for the 6 to 10 a.m. in April of 22, while you were filling in March 10th, really, for Pete during March of 22.
Do you have one of those memories? I saw these on 60 Minutes, these people that can remember what happened every single day. Are you like one of those?
How do you do that?
No,
how do you have the room in your head for that?
They're just geniuses.
No.
But maybe
genius,
I think
numbers are really good.
Every once in a while, she'll text in like, "This is your 200th show" or something. You'll be like, "It is?"
Oh, pardon me, because again, I'm not linear and tangential. I'm going to add this, Alexa. I appreciate you remembering all of that, and it is similar. You're similar to, and everyone will know this, actress Mary Lou Henner.
That's who I was thinking.
She had that kind of a memory where she could go back and tell you the date and the weather and what happened. She was that good, and her memory was just far beyond anything that us regular humans do. And Alexa's in that same category. And so I appreciate it. Just want to let you know that's who we're looking for. Yeah, I'm going to go sit in my hole.
Alexa's a huge asset, Jeff. She's a great part of the show. She doesn't call in as much as she texts. And I think it's because she's busy doing this, that, or the other, like maybe a job or something. I don't know.
A day job.
Yeah, a day job or something like that. But man, she'll let you know things that are going on, and always happy to chime in with stuff. She always sends in great ideas. But Alexa's been a fantastic part of this show in that official capacity. We're never going to be able to get you paid, Alexa. I hope that's not a
I know.
problem.
I was going to just have Kelly send the check to my house, please.
Yeah. You know what? If you don't mind, because you have my other number, shoot me those dates, would you? Because I kept track of none of that. I just showed up and started blah, 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 blah.
Yep. No, I will shoot those to you. But good luck. And I know we'll be seeing each other.
Yes, that's right.
Here and there.
That's right. Alexa,
and we're going to get that skin regimen.
God knows I need it. You've obviously looked at the YouTubes. Alexa, thank you for being a great part of the show, and I will see you in the neighborhood.
Take care.
See ya. Hey, Alexa's line is open, 303-696-1971. Neil, other folks calling in. I'm going to take you right off this break. I just don't want to be jammed up against someone who wants to call in and make a guess, or to, in essence, say good riddance, which I think is probably what are on some people's minds. But I got to tell you about Brent and Joyce Tolliver. They are the son-mother team that puts together Roll 'em Out shelves. I had them out to my house. Jeff, you ought to have them out to your house,
Seriously.
honestly. And they'll do it. They'll come out themselves.
I was showing my wife these, and she's like, these are amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They change your house. Like, people walking into your house won't notice a thing you've done with Roll 'em Out shelves. But you will love your house more because all of those big cabinets that you're like, I can put so much stuff in there. Well, then you do, and you're like, I can't get to the crap in the back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it also, it punishes people who aren't tall people, right? Because you can't reach all the way back there. Roll 'em Out shelves has solutions for all this stuff. They've been doing it forever, and they do it personally. They don't do any of that contracted work. They have long-term employees. You can actually go check them out on their website at rollemoutshelves.com, rollemshelves.com, and you can see the videos of how they do it, what they do it. It usually takes them like an hour or something to get them installed. They've got a budget that matches yours. Like, they can do as much or as little as you want, and it makes total sense. Give them a call today at 303-475-9601, 303-475-9601. Check them out at rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them George and Jeff and Bill sent you. Hey, listen, when we come back, full phone lines, we'll continue to take the calls as they come in. It's Jay, it's Neil, it's Sherry Pife. Get out of town. I guess the question on everyone's mind, which bar is Sherry at? Next, George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
This is what George is actually doing.
This is
frolicking through a meadow.
Do to you and you and you. Yeah, so listen, we did a rendition or a performance of this sort of thing back in grade school, and because I was the ham, they had me do the high pitch one. That one right there, they had me do that. So that's fascinating to me that Kelly knew to channel that particular musical score from, I believe, It's a Wonderful Life. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally joking. I'm totally joking. I should tell you that the Sound of Music they have a tour out there in Austria. That's the Sound of Music tour. And I'm like, this is going to be so cool. And I took my two youngest boys, Jeff and Graham, a few years ago out there, and we did a little Germany, did a little Austria. I had some Army business out there at this place called Edelweiss, which is an Armed Forces rec center down in Garmisch in the southern part of Bavaria. And we're on the tour, and there's another American family with us, and you go see all the sights and stuff. And this American man are so cool. And at one point, we're on the bus, and it's got all the Sound of Music stuff on the side. And they go, hey, kids, what's your favorite song from the Sound of Music? And I'm looking at them, and they're like, we've never seen it. And I go, wait, what? I'm like, what? We're on a tour for the Sound of Music. I never showed these kids the Sound of Music. And now the family's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't even know anymore. I thought we all, so it changed dynamic.
Dad sometimes miss those things.
A lot.
This is a funny dad story with my pops. I got my ears pierced when I was 16 years old.
Oh my God. Breaking news, folks.
Against my mom's wishes. My mom and I
Both
went back
ears?
and forth, both ears, pierced, all this stuff. I went through a phase. I went through a whole goth phase at one point.
Hold on. Were you a stud guy, a loop guy?
Loop, big old loops.
Oh,
man, I went through a whole Marilyn Manson phase, all this fun stuff.
Please
Black
bring us
fingernails.
pictures. Billy, get the pictures.
My parents surprisingly never took that. So I pierced my ears. My mom and I got into it. Big fight for weeks, grounded, all that stuff. And literally 6 months later, my dad walks up to me while I'm sitting on the couch. He goes, did you get your ears pierced? Like it had happened 6 months before. We'd had this I've been living in a house with earrings in my ears. So, sometimes dads
love you, Dad.
Sometimes dads you're just like, just kind of
my brother pierced one ear, the left ear, or whatever one was cool at the time. I think it was the left ear or something, pierced that, and was going to get a tattoo. He ended up getting a tattoo of Marvin the Martian on his left shoulder. Why? I don't know. But I just remember my dad, one of the most Christ-like guys I've ever met in my life. Just walks the walk, talks the talk. He does the whole thing. And he just very calmly was like, I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to. And he was like, so this must have been the ear piercing. The tattoo came later. Ear piercing. I don't want you to do it, son. And he was like 15. And Eric was like, I'm doing it. He's like, no, I don't think you should do it. And he goes ahead and gets it done. He turns 16 and he's like, well, let's go get the driver's license. And my dad was like, nope. I don't think my brother got his driver's license till he was 18 years old. Right there, like
over an ear piercing.
Yeah, no threat. There was no sort of a, hey, if you do this, do that. It was just, I don't want you to do it. And he's like, no, I'm doing it. And it's like, okay,
and then go get your own license.
Yeah,
if you want.
Good luck walking. And rides from your buddies.
Right,
yeah, that really looks like a neat little stud in your ear. But that's 100 years ago. 303-696-1971 is the number. I've got text here. I'd come in this morning, George, but I've got a doctor's appointment. Tally ho. I wish you all the best. Jacqueline, I'm going to miss you too. Great listener. And you're going to inherit, my guess is, this plus the 8 million other people you have in your Rolodex. Let's get right to the phone lines here. We're going to go Jay. We're going to go Sherry. We're going to go Neil. Jay, you're on 710. What do you think?
Well, I missed somebody. Thank you so much. And you're going to be well missed. So therefore, I have a stupid idea.
Oh, give it to me.
That you would be very good at because you tell the truth, and you could call it 10 to real news. I miss Paul Harvey. You could do like a 10-minute deal or a 5-minute deal like a Paul Harvey used to do back in the day.
Oh, yeah. And
so
now
because the rest of the story.
That's right. That's right.
But you could still, because it's kind of like taking the farmer off the farm and then they pass away. Now, with you doing the truth news, you would still have something to do, but you wouldn't have to do all that you still do today, but I guarantee you're going to be still following up on what you still do. So that would give you a 10-minute deal, and you could even go nationwide with the thing.
I love the idea. It needs to pay. I don't mind doing stuff for free. I'm a father, but I would love to. I would love to get paid.
Well, no, I mean, but you get something like what he had, kind of, something, something to that configuration, to where you don't, go home and go nuts. You'd still be on the news, because it's not gonna. You're still going to be on top of everything. That's just your nature, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
I'm flattered, man.
All these years,
and I want to introduce you
all
to Jeff.
years.
I don't know if you've ever called in to Jeff when he has filled in for us, but Jay is a great longtime listener and calls in, and he gives that Northeast Colorado perspective. I mean, dude's a rancher. He's got all that stuff going on. He knows Jerry Sonnenberg outside of politics. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows Jerry from up in that community. He knows him outside of that, and he's just a great voice of a different part of the state. So we love having Jay on. Jay, thanks for that call, man.
Well, thank you much, man. I'm going to miss you, but I welcome Bill and him.
Jeff and Bill.
Jeff and Bill. I welcome them.
Jay, I think you've come up with the new name of the show, Bill and Him. I like that.
Right.
I think I like that one better.
Jay, what do you ranch?
We got cattle, wheat, corn. So we have cattle and, like say, corn, wheat. We don't grow any beans out this way for the most part. They're just kind of a pain in the whatever. But so just hay, corn.
That's great.
Well,
we got a little goat ranch, so we'll have something to talk about.
Absolutely. No, I know. I mean, if you're a friend of his, you're a friend of all of ours.
That's 100% accurate, man. Jay, thank you for the phone call, buddy. Keep doing the great work you do out there for Colorado on your little portion of heaven out there. 303-696-1971. Neil and Sherry, I promise you're next. Neil, you're on 710 KNUS. Neil, what do you think, man?
Well, first off, I got to say, I'm definitely going to miss you. I woke up, didn't realize this morning was going to be like this. So I've got some dried tears in my eyes right now. Not really.
Oh, buddy. Well, I wish you hadn't said not really. Yeah.
Well, I got to be honest. I mean, Jeff Hunt being a preacher and everything, I don't want to lie in front of him, but
that's right. Although I think he's in the forgiveness business, so I think it'd be okay right there.
Okay. Well, being a Christian, I have to forgive people all the time. I mean, I forgive you so often, but
Thanks, man.
But I think we are going to miss you. I mean, you bring a certain voice to the radio that has been needed for a long time. And I think Jeff and Bill together could match you, I guess. I don't know.
They're going to end up surpassing me. I think what they figured out is one dumb guy on the radio isn't as cool as two dumb guys on the radio. And so they're going to really put this show on steroids. Neil, my guess is you'll call in more than ever.
Well, probably. No, I mean, I don't want to make you feel bad, So,
no, you won't. You won't. I won't be listening.
Well,
I'm totally kidding. Yeah. Of course, I'm going to be listening.
Well, no, but seriously, I think you've added a lot of dimension to this that's been needed, and it's been great getting to know you and everything. And I got to say, one of the ideas I had for your new employment would be, I think you and Tim Hernandez should co-host together a show. I want to be you as a wannabe talk show host, him as a wannabe gangster. But
I just wonder how many words he can speak if his hands were in his pockets. Do you know what I mean? If you've ever seen this guy talk, it is this constant. And if you watch it with the sound off, it's a very awkward gesture to watch. It's just very reminiscent of some other things. But that's a fascinating prediction there. Jeff, you're going to win Neil over. I can tell already.
I think so.
Yeah, well, Jeff and I are connected as it is on LinkedIn. I mean, I had to fill some space, so I decided to connect with him some time ago.
Neil, that's genius. Buddy, thanks for the very kind words and for the suggestion. That turns out to not be true, but I love where your heart is. Thanks for being a part of the show, man.
Well, hey, before you go, one other idea. I'm a writer by trade, freelance writer, so give me a call when you're ready for your biography.
I always thought George would be good as like a Nancy Grace. we put you on television, you
elevate the camera a little
analyze.
bit so you can't see that other part of my chin, that kind of thing. And then I just look in there and glare. And she says she's innocent. I think I could do it. I think I could.
All right. Thanks,
Neil.
George.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Neil's line is open 303-696-1971. I promised we'd go to Sherry Pipe. Sherry, first off, what was the last alcoholic drink you had this morning?
Oh, that's tough, George, because after the first 5 or 6, I forgot what the last one was.
You don't stay consistent. You're not one of those beer before liquor, never sicker, or whatever that is. You don't follow that rule.
I mix it all together. I mix it all together. And
A lot of
just whatever
Boilermakers.
whatever I can grab out of my refrigerator, I'm good.
I love that you called in this morning, Sherry. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was actually freaking out because my phone was blowing up as I was getting ready this morning. And everybody's like, what's going on with George? And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, George is like, it's his last show. Well, then I thought I was like the only one in Colorado that knew because I'm like, who left me out? So I feel at least a little bit better that nobody knew until
That's right.
my phone started blowing
Jeff and
up.
Bill knew. Jeff and Bill knew.
Yeah, Jeff and Bill knew.
Kelly
Jeff
and
Bill
Mark.
I
knew.
found out this morning.
We asked Jeff to just come in for an interview, and then we're like, dude, you're taking over the show.
yours.
It was very Willy Wonka. They gave him a tour of the office. They offered him the chance to eat some candy he wasn't supposed to, and now he's going to be the host of the show.
That happens in Colorado.
He left a gobstopper behind.
I look forward to that show, but you are going to be missed, George.
Yep.
Thank you for all you've done. And I just wanted to make sure that I said goodbye.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to make sure that Jeff and Bill, and I sent you a text message to the same effect. Jeff and Bill just need to make sure that they are as considerate of my alcoholism as you have been.
I think we ought to have, this is for the future, Sherry, because we're doing all of this video stuff, YouTube and Rumble. We put these pictures up. You're on it. I think we ought to have changing backgrounds, Bill, of different bars. Like when she's being interviewed, like she's at X Saloon in Lakewood, or now Cheers or something like that. Like, where's Sherry now? And we'll just have her pop up with the background of some, oh, look, she's at the Grizzly Rose. It's been closed since 2, but there she is.
You are so funny.
And you're
you are really going to be missed.
Yeah, I
man.
appreciate that. And also, I know you're going to continue to be part of the show because these guys love you. And frankly, and you know this, Jeff, Sherry does all of that old school local reporting that the big folks just don't cover.
That's what I love about Sherry, because that's gone. All that's gone, except for
Yep.
these
Thank you.
independent journalists that really do the important heavy lifting.
Sherry,
Well,
thank you
I'm
so
looking
much.
forward to working with you guys, and good luck to you, George, whatever it is that you do in the future.
Well, I know I'll end up running into you around the state. So
I'm sure we
make sure
will.
you save a hug for me.
I will do. Thanks,
See you,
man.
Sherry. Thanks. Hey, Sherry's line is open 303-696-1971. Here's what I want to do. Oh my gosh, we have Priscilla Ron on. We have Frank. We have Louie. I want to get to all of these calls. I want to cut away for a quick break. I'll do one more read. We'll cut away. We'll come back. I'll keep this going. Jeff can only be here till 9. So I'm going to let Jeff do a lot of the jibber jabber here as we finish up the 8 o'clock hour. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, it'll just be us. It'll just be you and me and the phones and the limited amount of radio that I'm allowed to have left. I want to tell you about Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. And I'm looking at you, Jeff. No, I'm kidding. If you are of a certain age, your body just goes through changes, man. It's not your fault. It's not anything you did right or wrong. It's just these things happen. And so if you have noticed in the last couple years or so that you're just not sleeping as well, you just don't have the same energy, maybe you just don't have that same passion with your loved one or out and about in the community or whatever, Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic is here to say, we have an answer. You don't have to live like this. You have a choice. And so they offer you a 10-question, true, false, very hard to fail quiz. Billy took it. He got 7 wrong, but nonetheless, you can probably get them all right. And if you are eligible, you give these folks a call at 720-440-7900, 720-440-7900, and they will set you up with this in-person medical consult, licensed medical provider. It's $99, but here's the kicker, man. If you end up signing up with them, and you likely will, that $99 gets folded right into the cost. RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. They do the low T test. They do the PSA test. That's your prostate one. If you're a dude over that certain age, you got to give these guys a call, at least have the conversation. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. When we come back, it's going to be Priscilla, Frank, Louie, everybody else on 710 KNUS. George Brauchler, final George Show. See you in a bit.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Somber moments here at the final edition of the George Show on 710 KNUS. We're in hour 3, Jeff Hunt in the studio. I want to turn it over to Jeff, but I can't at the moment because the person who actually wrote that song is on the line with us right now, Priscilla Ron, candidate for commissioner in Douglas County. Priscilla, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. And that was so sad. I had no idea this was happening today, and my phone started blowing up. So I had to call.
Oh, that's nice. Thank
before
you.
the students came in, and I love you, George, and we love Jeff, of course. You guys are so rock solid, but I had to call in and say how awesome it's been to be a part of your show over the last, has it been a year or more than a year?
2.
2.5?
2.
Alexa.
Yeah. Alexa's got the timeline. She just sent it to me. It's 2 years. Yeah.
2 years, 14
Wow.
hours.
Yeah. So, Priscilla, I saw you on Fox News yesterday.
Yeah.
The big one.
Yeah.
What's up? Or was
That
it 2
was
days
so
ago?
awesome.
What was that about?
2 days. So I got a call, would you be on the show? And I thought it was local. I thought it was going to be Fox 31.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone
good
gave,
dudes.
Fox and Friends and meeting Lawrence in person. Like, it was such a huge opportunity just to give a firsthand experience as a Denver teacher of the migrant crisis here and how it's impacting our schools. And obviously being a part of the Denver Police Chiefs Community Advisory Board, we're really concerned about public safety. And our police chief is awesome, and he's doing all he can. Of course, I'm a huge law enforcement supporter. So it's definitely something that Congress and our president needs to address at the border.
Yeah. Look, Priscilla, you always do such great work. I know you'll continue to do that, especially in the county that you and I share. Jeff's right next door in Elbert County. Thanks for the call, and get back to educating
Breaking
those
news
kids.
here. We have an interruption
Oh my gosh.
in the
Here we
studio.
go.
Bill has brought in a cake.
Happy get out of the studio to you. If you're on the YouTubes or the Rumbles, this is something right there. Yeah, as it
Well, you
turns
know
out.
what this means.
Oh no, what does
You
it
know
mean?
what this means? It means I have to make a candle for Jeff.
Oh, Jeff gets a candle.
Yes.
She had one called
love that.
Jonas Prudence for Kellner that smells remarkably like feet. And then she made me a candle, and it was called Brock Lee. And what was the other part? What was the scent of that?
It was broccoli and feet. Yours was
broccoli and feet officially. And by the way, it actually smells pretty good. The broccoli and feet thing actually works. Yes, you're going to have to do a candle for Jeff and Bill. I don't know if it'll be
goat scented.
Yeah, goat scented.
Yes, I was thinking that.
Right. One of them's a little bit
milk or
country.
something.
The other one's rock and roll. Maybe that's the theme music. I can't wait to hear the theme show. Can we hear the theme show today, or do we have to wait till Monday?
I haven't even heard it. I don't know. Monday.
No, come on. Well, Priscilla, hey, get back to educating those kids and keep doing great work out in Douglas County.
So
thank you.
Cake reads, "Good luck, George." Thank you. It's
Good.
got some
Good luck,
musical
George.
notes
Sans the comma that would make it grammatically correct. That's not a big deal. That's there's a fondant on there. This looks fantastic. By the way, is this a store bought or is this a Mark Crowley special? No, not. See, Mark makes the good stuff. Jeff, that's the other thing. If you were looking to lose weight in this saddle, it's going to be a lot harder. One, because you get up early, right? So you're jamming stuff in your face throughout the show. But two, Mark brings in stuff. He is like a, if there's such a thing, what do you call like the best baker out there? It's not like
Jack Phillips.
He's like the Jack Phillips of 710 KNUS. Listen, Jeff, I only have the minute plus to give you, man. I don't know. You've been so patient to sit here through this thing.
Well, this has been fun. Listen, George, you're an institution, and what's great is that you're not leaving your influence in the state of Colorado. You'll be making some announcements coming up and all that in the next coming days, but the people of Colorado are going to benefit from you being around. So this is not a farewell, George, by any means. This is a thank you, George, and we're looking forward to all you're going to do for the people of Colorado and the influence you're going to continue to have. And to be able to watch, I mean, just phone call after phone call, text after text come in is very cool.
It's nice. These guys are very kind. Almost every text is positive. So that's that's so nice. But listen, here's what we're going to do. Cut away for a break. Jeff's going to actually go do the other job because you can't just do the radio. That's old school
right.
stuff.
We're not leaving Centennial Institute. It's all still going.
Jeff's still going. And then he'll be back on Monday, 6 to 10 a.m. for the Jeff and Bill inaugural show. I'll be tuning in. You ought to as well. But I'm still here for another hour, folks. 303-696-1971. Talk about anything you want. We'll hit the text to George Brauchler and Jeff, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. It's the final hour of the final show, not only of the week, but of the George show itself. I'll be signing off, at 9:56 and 50 seconds here. And then Monday, 6 to 10 a.m., the new and improved Jeff and Bill show will take over this 6 to 10 a.m. slot. Of course, we're keeping it local, and I know that's what so many had asked for in texts and in calls that we had when Stefan had signed off is, look, we just love the local radio. Well, you're going to get it, and you're going to get it from two of the best that are out there. Of course, Jeff Hunt. Guy has a Rolodex like nobody's business. My guess is he is going to take the level of guests up a notch. We already have great guests. He's going to end up with some of those national folks. I mean, he could probably pull Charlie Kirk and Katie Pavlich and Hugh Hewitt. No, I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. So I'm excited to see where he and Bill take this show. I am fascinated with the idea that Billy dropped the Y for purposes of the show. I think that was just an ego thing. Nobody could have more than 4 letters in their name or 2 syllables, right? Like that wouldn't be fair. Jeff is just 1 syllable. Billy, he gets the extra syllable. That just couldn't happen. Listen, what I've been doing here is taking a whole bunch of calls and texts, and I would love to continue this conversation with you. We can talk about whatever you want. I have no plan for this hour. And I think based on the response that some folks have been giving, this was a pretty well-kept secret. Nobody knew that today was going to be the final day. It's a weird day, too. It's not like the beginning of the month, the end of the month, February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Maybe we'll do this again on Monday. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. If it was April Fool's, maybe that would be the thing. I want to get right back to the phone lines, 303-696-1971. Frank from Golden, you're on 710. Frank, what do you think?
Hey, George, I'm sorry to see you go because you've been a voice of reason among extremist times, and I think that's needed. So, but, I understand such is life.
Yeah.
But I do have, and I want, this is a little tongue-in-cheek and offered in the most Don Imus-esque way I can, but I know what you're going to go do next. And it's a touchy subject, but it's a hands-on job. You're going to become a theater critic alongside Warren Wilbur.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I think if you say it 3 times fast, they turn on the night vision goggle cameras inside the theater. That's a wonderful prediction. Someone else, a friend, texted and said, you're going to play Niedermeyer in the reboot of Animal House. I don't think I could pull that off. I look like Niedermeyer's grandfather at this point. Yeah. What am I? I'm a zit. Frank, listen, if you have any law jobs out there, let me know. Got to figure out a way to keep the lights on.
I'll hit you up. I'll teach you how to do the most obscure, ridiculous type of law ever, work comp.
You know what I like about it then is nobody can really criticize you because nobody knows what the hell you're doing. And that's the best kind of law.
That's correct. I mean, it's so odd that nobody, exactly. If you go into the obscure corners of the world, nobody knows why you're there in the first place.
Isn't that the best job to have, where people can't figure out what you're doing, but they have to keep paying you to do it?
Correct.
Frank, you could have been a radio host.
Law students. Oh, hell, I don't know. Yeah, but that's too damn easy. And then you get criticized.
And well, there it is. There, I'm living it.
No, I've told like younger law students, I'm like, look, get into work comp, you'll never not have a job because there's always huge demand and nobody knows it.
That's exactly right.
Keep bumping along.
I figured out a way to make an easy job look difficult. And so I don't know why Jeff agreed to do this. It's kind of crazy that he would sign up for this, but I'm kind of anxious to see how it goes. Does part of me hope the show just completely flames out? Yes, of course. That's ego. No, I'm kidding. I want nothing but the best for the Salem and 710 family. They've been very, very good to me. And I think the show is going to be great. I'm glad Bill's getting it's still Billy to me. I'm glad Billy's getting some billing on this show. Guy deserves it. And I think he and Jeff have a great little chemistry. And at some point, I hope to hear screamed profanity back and forth without anybody hitting the dump button. That's what I hope for this show.
I don't see how it could go any other way. I mean, that's got to happen.
Hey, Frank, thanks for the call, brother. Be in touch. All right.
Hey, George.
See you, man.
All right.
Hey, Frank's line is open at 303-696-1971. I promise we're going to get to the other calls, Gary, Frank, and whoever's calling in right now on this open line. Some of the texts that have come in here. Pete always says the threshold for being a radio guy is being fired. You don't get to do a farewell show. Well, I guess this is a farewell show. By the way, Jeff is just in the studio for 10 more seconds as he's walking out to do his job. I'm going to give you the only advice that Pete gave me that stuck with me, and that was don't do it. No, it was, I'm kidding. It was Radio No Man's Master. And I think I told you this when we talked on the phone. I'm like, buddy, some of the best shows we've ever had have been shows that we had done no prep for, right?
Yeah.
Like you think you know what you're doing. And some of the worst shows have been ones where Billy and I like, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to have this guest, and then we're going to do this. And the show is just a total yawn fest. No connection with the public. So, that would be my only advice is less is more, when it comes to preparation.
But, Colorado finds itself in a very unique situation that we've never seen in our lifetime, right?
My.
It has never been so dominated by a radical Marxist leftism. So
everywhere.
There's a kind of comedy to it, right? Just kind of a lunacy that exists out there. But what I love about 710 KNUS is this is the tip of the spear where the great fight back begins to restore sanity to the state of Colorado.
That's right.
That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And so it's connecting with people, it's organizing people, but it's towards a mission of getting the state back on the right track.
But it's also old school talk radio. I don't know how else to describe it, is that this isn't a show based on just guests. And some folks do that, especially at the national level. This isn't just a show on standing on your soapbox and pontificating and venting, although there are times where you get to do that. This is a show that invites people in to say, what the hell do you think about all this? You know what I mean?
What do you think about it and their perspective? And that's what makes radio great. That's what makes Colorado and the conservative movement great, right?
Yeah.
We're just the average people. We're not some billionaire out of San Francisco dropping in billions of dollars into the state to try to flip it. These are our neighbors. These are our neighbors. So you're part of the movement, man.
I wish you were a billionaire.
I wish I did.
Drop dollars into here. It would make a big difference. But I know that that's going to continue on. I'm anxious to see how this rolls out. I really do want to hear the dang music, right? Like I can't believe we just now in the 9 o'clock hour played for the last time the theme music for the show, the little introduction. And our friend of the show, the state surgeon, Dr. Julia, who always texts in, why do you diss on doctors so much from that? The three most useless jobs in America are in order, lawyer, congressman, doctor. I mean, that's just brilliant stuff, man. So we're going to lose a little bit of that. We'll lose the lawyer and no congressman, but we'll have a couple doctors on here. You and Bill will be the radio doctors.
Doctors and something.
Buddy, I can't thank you enough. I'm excited to see how this thing goes, and I'm glad you're taking over for this reason. There's always a fear at this point with 710 that if someone leaves, they nationalize the show. And that's not to take away from any of the national hosts who are far less good than local hosts, but keeping this local matters for exactly the reasons you said, Jeff. Got to happen.
Yeah, because there's work to be done. We're here at this time, and we're going to hand a state to our children and grandchildren that's either better or worse. So let's get to work.
I'd like the better part. Jeff Hunt, thanks, man. And I know you got to go out there and do your other job, one of several jobs that you end up doing. That's Jeff Hunt. He'll be back here in this seat that I'm sitting, hopefully a new chair, by the way, but in this seat, Bill Through the Glass. It'll be the Jeff and Bill show from 6 to 10 a.m. every freaking Monday through Friday. This, of course, is our last show. A couple of texts right here. People guessing. Just tuned in. Did you get fired? No, not this time. Or called to duty? No, although that would be a good reason to leave the show too. I think George is going to be a Red Sox ball boy. Well, if you know anything about me, I don't think the Red Sox have balls, so that's not going to be an issue. Good luck, George. We'll miss your humor, man. Thank you so much. OMG, say it isn't so. If George is leaving, so am I. He was the only host that a moderate dem like me could stomach. Good luck, George. I will miss you. Let me say this, texter. One, I can't believe that. That's very flattering. But two, tune in, man, because you've got Jeff and Bill. It's a different dynamic. You are going to get, I think, in many ways, a different approach on these topics by each of these gentlemen, and then you get to add to it. So don't go away yet. Stick around, and it'll all be awesome. Well, we're going to get right back to the phone lines. Gary, you're on 710 KNUS. Gary, what do you think?
I think I'm going to miss you, George. Thank you so much for entertaining us. And, you know, we've got your cubicle all set up here, and I hope you're ready to apply the tax law. You know, we're going after those high-income, high-wealth taxpayers, and we need your help.
I wish I was one of them. I wish I was in that bracket you could target. Sadly, I'm neither.
Well, if you want to go after them, you're welcome here. But you know, it's funny because I was always thinking, I thought Billy would be a great talk show hosts, and
Me too.
So I'm looking forward to hearing him, because he's always very fact based, and he's willing to push back and, really make sure that people are talking from fact. The other guy, I'm not so sure about, but I think
Jeff's going to be great. Jeff's just going to be absolutely great. He's super smart guy.
Yeah, I've heard him before, and I remember when Billy called him on some things he was saying. So I hopefully we'll have that balance. And the thing I really appreciate, I just wanted to tell you, George, there's two things. I love your self-deprecation. Great stuff. And I also like the way you need to frequently say, "I'm kidding."
Because in this market, if you don't say that, it shows up as its own clip where someone's like, 710 host said blankety blank. Well, no, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm gonna miss you and your family. I always enjoy listening to Amanda and your voice. So,
I wish I could get her on. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it, man. Keep doing the good work, but don't be too good at it. That's Gary working with the IRS. Hey, listen, you know who we're missing, Billy? You know who we're missing? Joe from Arvada. Where's Joe? Where's Joe from Arvada? 303-696-1971, the number. We're going to go to Frank. You're on 710 KNUS. Frank, what do you think?
George, really going to miss you.
Oh, buddy,
really,
thank you for calling in.
Really appreciate the open mic. I see a visual of you when I listen to your program of Kung Fu fighting. This guy taking on all these collars and, doing his martial arts to defend the truth, honor, and American way. I really do appreciate you holding truth and the law in such high self-esteem. I hope the Justice Department is able to keep up with your expectations over the coming years. That's the only hope.
Yeah, I hope so too, buddy, because I read things just like you do where I go, I hope there's something good that comes out of this. But more and more, I think to myself, God, have we just politicized the criminal justice system, sometimes even at the local level, to the point where you, Frank, as a not just taxpayer and consumer of the product, but as a future juror, do you go into a case now with that skepticism about the government that transcends any of the constitutional limitations? Just this idea that, is this politically motivated? I mean, that's just death.
You have to, and you've helped awaken us to that. I had some nominations for possible things for you.
Oh, yeah. Tell me.
Okay, new national show called Just the Facts, Ma'am. And then a legal advisor for Dinesh D'Souza's future film production.
Yeah,
a co-host with Rachel Maddow.
Oh, my God. That would be something, Frank. That would be truly something if I got hooked up with Rachel. Are you still there? Oh, Frank, we're losing you, man. Frank, wherever you move to in that vault that you call home, listen, I'm going to put you on hold and we'll come back to you in just a minute. 303-696-1971 is the number. I think we've got Louis. You're on 710 KNUS. Louis, what do you think?
You ruined my day, buddy. You ruined my day. I got out of the gym. I listened to you, and it's the worst day I've had in a long time. But I'm sitting out for groceries because I'm in so much pain. I'm going to go get some UltraCure.
Make sure you get the gummies. The gummies, I understand, will take away some of that pain.
Yeah, the only good part was that you're not being replaced by Peter Boyle. So, at least I'll listen to Jeff, but I don't listen to Peter Boyle.
Of course, Pete's the godfather of this whole thing. I couldn't be here without Pete, by the way. But Jeff and Bill are going to take this thing over. I'm really honestly intrigued, not just from a, hey, who's taken over for me sort of standpoint, but honestly from that driving by something on fire on the side of the roadway. You know what I mean? Like you're rubbernecking, like, I wonder what's going on over there. That's what I want for this show. I want people to tune in and go, what?
Well, my morning won't be the same anymore, but I'll listen to Billy and Jeff.
Oh, buddy. Thank you.
And you, like you say, you ruined my day, buddy.
Oh, Louis, it's flattering to hear that. And please keep listening. You're going to love what Bill and Jeff have to offer. Hey, listen, here's what I want to do because we've got other lines filled. You can fill Louis' line at 303-696-1971. Nick and Frank, we'll try to come back to you, Frank, and see if we got a better connection with you so we can wrap up together. I got to cut away, but I can't do it until I tell you about UltraCur. That's our good friends at Ultra Botanica that have put together that curcumin-based all-natural supplement. It's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, but it is pro-health. I've taken it. Billy's taken it. My God, we're going to now have to get Jeff on this stuff. And my guess is Jeff's a bit of a runner too, by the way, although he's younger than I am. When I run, I get that pain in my ankles and my knees, which I think maybe Should have asked Jeff this. Is that God telling me not to run? But when I take the Ultra Cur, honestly, the pain is there, but not for as long at all, not even close. You can experience the positive benefits for some folks within less than 2 hours of taking it, by the way. Go check out the website, getultranow.com, getultranow.com. The other thing that you can do is, and this is what I recommend, go to the natural grocers, ask the vitamin manager to get you your free 3-day supply, because there is a free 3-day supply, and you're not even going to need that much to feel the benefits. Get another free 3-day supply for a loved one, your neighbor, a friend, your spouse, whatever it is, and they're going to have a similar experience, just maybe in a different way. When you figure out, hey, this is the product I need to start adding to my daily routine, check them out at getultranow.com, and you can buy more at your natural grocers. Hey, let's do this. Phone lines are full. I promise to get to them. Let's cut away for a slightly earlier break. It's George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here. Final half an hour, really-ish, of the George Show on 710 KNUS. This is it, folks. I'm leaving. I will be replaced. And for those of you who are like, were you fired? Obviously I was. That's why I'm still on the air now. No, I'm kidding. If they had shown me the door, there's no swan song because you never know what crazy stuff a fired radio host will say. Nope, this is me leaving voluntarily as opposed to feet first. Next week, starting Monday, 6 to 10 a.m., the inaugural show of the Jeff and Bill show. I imagine they will jockey back and forth for position as to who gets the first name, and there from time to time, Billy will introduce it as the Bill and Jeff show. It ought to be a lot of fun. Fisticuffs, great conversation. It'll be this show, but on steroids, and so I can't wait to hear it myself. I'll probably call in and do some stuff as well. You guys have been great here with the texts and stuff. Let me get to a couple of those. No, George, I just woke up and heard the news. I'm so sad. I'm sure Jeff and Billy will do a great job, but we love you. That's so very sweet, Judy. I missed hearing what your plans are. By the way, I got the free samples at Natural Grocers, and I ordered a bottle of Ultra Cur yesterday. Fantastic. I've been taking 2 leaves every day, and I haven't had to take any since the store gave me some generous samples. What a great testimonial, Judy. Thank you. And I miss you guys too. I'm not going anywhere. I just won't be able to have the same access to you that I do here on the radio. Good luck, George. However, the people demand you choose the news remains in the 6 o'clock hour. I told Bill the same thing. Billy, I cannot express to you enough how much I appreciate you and what you've done to help George and make the George show so successful and fun to listen to. I hope Jeff keeps you actively involved. Oh, he will be, because then I'm more likely to keep listening. I really hope you come up with a way to help us dumb American to understand soccer, as I would like to learn from you. I wish you and your family, yes, even your snakes, the very best. I never wrote down where your trivia nights are as I'd come to keep up with you. Fantastic stuff out here. Let's get to the phone lines right now. I want to honor the callers as always. Nick from Denver, you're on 710. Nick, what do you think?
I'm sorry to hear you go. And I was always, the question mark in the back of my mind was always, how you found enough time in the day to run a full-fledged legal law firm and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning at the latest and do the show.
Yeah, it's crazy. You leave the house by 5. The bonus for me was if I got to do the show from home, and that happened for various reasons throughout our tenure here. And Kelly was always great about hooking me up with the remote. I could actually sleep in until 5, and then I'd get up and I'd, rush to kind of prep the show with Billy and stuff. But normally I'm up in that, I wake up in the 3 o'clock hour, get out of bed in the 4 o'clock hour, leave at 5 and get here and take care of this. So I wish I could take credit for the stuff I get done, but if you don't have a supporting cast, you know what I mean? You can't get it done.
Oh, absolutely.
You just can't get it done.
But I know this is all for the best. I was going to offer the services of Bruno the Beast. He could knock a few heads around and change people's opinions. You know how it goes?
Yeah, I would love to have that option. You should definitely offer that to Jeff and Bill on Monday. They actually might be able to need that a little bit more. Billy, feistier than you would think, right? Like scrappy guy. That kid got in trouble in high school a lot for the fisticuffs. So maybe he becomes the muscle of the show.
I don't know them, but I'm sure I'll get to know them quickly. I don't know their background or anything, but I'm sure I'll find out quickly.
Nick, thank you so much for the call, my man. We'll talk to you soon. Just say hi when I see you out in the community, my friend. Nick's line is open at 303-696-1971. Natalie from Jeffco. Natalie, thanks for calling in. I wish we were doing our big interview thing that we were going to do, but you're going to have to do it with Jeff and Bill next week. And I know it's going to be a bombshell, so I know they can't wait to hook up with you.
It is. Do you want me to just cover a couple quicks, or?
You know what? Do me a favor. Just tease the audience with the gist of it, and then we'll cut you loose, and then people can tune in next week, and I'll hook you up with Bill and Jeff, and we'll hopefully get this thing off the ground.
All right. So real quick, did a big story with Sean Boyd, who is wonderful.
She is terrific.
Yes, CBS 4 this last week. Please search it out for those who haven't seen it. It talks about how government uses our taxes for electioneering. And it's not just one example in the story. There was quickly 4 examples found where government's spending hundreds of thousands of our dollars electioneering for upcoming ballot issues. They're able to get away with it because of a loophole in the law. It just talks about it in that. But just looking forward, there's ways we can be fighting back besides the obvious terminate the contract kind of a thing. And we could do that in Jeffco. Arapaho could prevent their contract from occurring. And that is during spring and summer, people can get involved with how ballot issues are framed. The question is posed on the ballot. And I encourage everybody to read my articles at Complete Colorado about the gray book and the blue book, and in making sure taxpayers' Bill of Rights is inserted in the ballot question. And there's an upcoming Property Tax Commission meeting tomorrow that people can weigh in and say, we gave away our Tabor rights in the past, and this can be corrected by this Property Tax Commission. That I was trying to shove everything in there.
No, Natalie, this is great stuff, though, because first off, I like the idea that you're driving people to the articles because those things are chock full of good information. They're at the Independence Institute. Can we find them on Complete Colorado page 2?
Yeah.
Or do you okay, great.
Just go to page 2 and search Natalie Menton, and I've got written tutorials on how to get involved in this process that takes place in spring and summer. So it's coming up.
Natalie, this is fantastic stuff. And I know that this is why 710 is so great in terms of what's available on the market there. You have the ability now to keep telling this story to a broader audience with Jeff and Bill next week. Please reach back out, reconnect, and let's get this thing going with them. And then I can't wait to hear the interview.
I have a big teaser Monday night with CBS 4. Sean Boyd and I will be doing a part 3.
Oh my gosh.
And I would really, really strongly suggest that people watch CBS 4 for Sean Boyd's special this Monday night, February 5th.
Super cool. Hey, thanks so much, Natalie. Keep doing the great work that you're doing out there. Natalie's line is open at 303-696-1971. Donna from Denver, you're on 710. What do you think, Donna?
Hi, George.
Hi.
I just want to say thank you for keeping the conservative voice going. I have been pleasantly surprised by the shows I'm hearing on KNUS. Excuse me. And I probably wouldn't have kept listening except that with name recognition, because you are junior to your father.
That's right.
I just keep wanting to tell you to say hi for me to your dad, because I worked with him about 40 years ago, and I remember, and thank him too, because he probably never got a lot of
Donna,
thanks.
was this out in the feds when you guys were at 19th and Stout out there?
It was. Yes, it was. A long time ago.
I remember Mom used to work in that same building, just a couple floors apart from Dad for years and years. I mean, like 2 decades or something they worked out there.
Yes, and I met her a couple of times too, and she was a beautiful lady.
She was.
And I have noticed when I see you on TV, I think you resemble her more than you did, which is a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
But she and I were 2 of the shortest people in the building.
So
I
short,
think.
she was 5'1.5 inches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not even that much now, but he was so beautiful. And I remember your dad was the most patient and self-controlled teacher, because it was his job. He had the worst job probably in the whole building of dragging screaming clerical staff into the computer age. Bless his heart. He did a wonderful job.
You described Dad perfectly. He is one of the most patient. I'm telling you, he's just a Christ-like guy. He just accepts everybody where they're at. And thanks for the words on Mom.
I was sorry to hear that
me too.
Had to say goodbye to her so long ago, but
It's been 25 years. Can you believe that? 25
has it been
years
that
ago.
long?
Yeah, 25
Wow.
years.
Well, she did her work well and quickly on this earth, apparently.
Well,
yes.
Donna,
Wonderful.
so kind to you. And Dad listens to the show, so I'm sure he's right now, either now or when he listens to the podcast. He'll be like, oh, thank God, Donna. What a sweet call. Thank you for calling in, Donna. I'll miss you.
Well, thank you too, and we will miss you. And so I wish and pray God's best for you in your new endeavors, whatever they are.
Awesome. Thanks, Donna. I appreciate it. Hey, Donna's line is open at 303-696-1971. Got a little unexpected emotional there as Donna was talking about Mom. It was just a very, very sweet call. Let me do this before I get back to the calls there. Dan Kaplis, who, you know what, if I were a smarter guy, I would have said, Dan Kaplis, call in and let me just thank you on the air for all of the support and the honor of letting me read for you and Bobber. And I have taken, I mean, in the 2 years we've been doing this with Dan, you know, I've had the ability to tell the stories about how Dan was a mentor to me in the civil law practice. I'd never done civil before I started working for Dan. I did Bobber, his partner's very first jury trial. And it's an incredible story because I know Dan remembers this. You know, this was a former client of Dan's who was mistreated and sued by this unscrupulous 4x4 repair place. And she came to Dan, had no idea where to go. And Dan doesn't normally do this work. Dan doesn't defend these kinds of cases. And Dan got Bobber and I and another Dan in the room and said, hey, we're going to represent this woman for free. And you're going to go kick the living crap out of these losers. And we went into court and kicked the living crap out of these losers. Bobber and I did. It was Bobber's very first trial. He'd been sworn in like the day before. No joke, like the day before. And that's kind of a measure of the man, isn't it? That this is a guy who's not thinking about how do I put dollars in my pocket? It's how can I bring justice to somebody else? I mean, I know Dan feels blessed about what he's been able to achieve, and he wants to kind of bring some sort of peace and justice to other folks. And if that's the kind of attorney that you want, the guy that's focused on you and not on him, then you call Dan Kaplis. It's 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or you check him out at dankaplislaw.com. That's C-A-P-L-I-S, dankaplislaw.com. You know what? Now that I'm off the radio, I could be interviewed by Dan. I'm just saying, in case he's listening, just saying I could be interviewed by you someday in the future, which we couldn't do before. Hey, listen, let's get to where we at. Let me get to the phone lines right here. Ron, you're on 710. What do you think, Ron?
Well, Colonel, I'm a bit surprised this morning to hear that you're going in a different direction. I've enjoyed you so much.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I'll miss you, but I am excited for Billy.
I am too. I mean, maybe one of the better things to come out of this is one, they've obviously upgraded the host by going from George to Jeff. But with Bill, I love the idea that this guy now gets to do more of the great stuff. If you listen to the 6 o'clock hour, you know how great Billy is. But if you don't, you only get little pieces of him here and there. I'm anxious to hear how it goes.
And over the years, the last couple of years, well, I'm waiting to talk to you. He and I have become friends. We've shared a lot of common things that are going on in our family. So I'm really happy for him. I figured out what you're going to do.
What is it?
Well, the guy that's going to be cutting down my trees.
Yes.
He asked me if I could wait another week or so because he's hired a new stump grinder.
You know what? George Brauchler's stump grinder, that has a ring to it. I like the business cards, obviously not made out of wood or paper.
Right. True. Platinum. But anyway, I'm happy for you for whatever you're doing. And I will continue to listen to the show. And you know what's interesting to me is when Peter left, I thought, and it keeps evolving.
It does.
It keeps evolving. And we do too. Obviously, you're evolving into another part of your life.
Yeah.
So sometimes sad, sometimes happy, but I'm happy for you.
Well, I love that we have listeners. And my guess is some of these folks that have called in have never called in before. Like some of these voices I don't recognize, but they're very, very nice to call in. And I like the regular ones too. Honestly, we don't have a lot of time left. I'm really missing Joe from Arvada. Aren't you missing Joe just for a final little swan song with Joe?
And Frank.
Yeah, and Frank. Where are Frank? Well, we're going to have to find out. I can't thank you enough, Ken. Man, thanks for listening. And stay tuned. Jeff and Bill are going to be awesome.
I know they will. Thanks.
Talk with you soon. Hey, that was Ron's line. Ron's line is open. I think we have Ken and Janice. Let me take a look here at the screen. Let me do this one. Let's do this for a break, but I want to do one more thing before we do that so I don't have to do it when we come back. And that is to tell you about something that starts today, goes through Sunday. You know where I'm going. If you're a Second Amendment fan, as I am, you look forward to the Tanner Gun Show whenever they're in town. Well, they're back in town, folks. They are at that Crown Plaza Hotel there near I-70 in Chambers. Super easy to get to from any direction. They give you the 30% off on average of the big box stores on so many different things, all one-stop shopping for you. The knives, the guns, the ammo, the AR accessories, hunting supplies, classes, CCW and safety classes. They do it all in the most responsible way possible. 60 years, man, they've been doing this thing. It's today from 3 to 7, Saturday 9 to 5, Sunday 9 to 4, and a ticket for one day gets you access all 3 days, parking always free. Check them out at thetannergunshow.com. That's thetannergunshow.com. Hey, when we come back, we'll wrap up the show. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler, back with you. Great bumper music for the final show, final segment of that show. I'm going to take some advice from elders. I've got one in the studio you'll hear from in a moment. I want to go right to the VIP line. Old man.
Hey, George.
Take a look at your life. I'm a lot like you. What's going on?
George, I just wanted to
It's my dad, by the way, folks. It's my dad.
Yeah, I just wanted to, and Annette's here with me too.
Hi, Annette.
Yeah.
Hi, we've been listening to you for 4 hours every day for a long time.
I am so sorry. By the way, Pete Boyle's in the studio with me, says he remembers meeting you guys out in Jeffco on some stuff. So that's super cool.
That's right.
Oh yeah, we did.
Hey, Mr. Brauchler.
That's Pete right there.
We're impressed that Billy's going to be on also.
Me
so
too. Me too. Jeff and Bill are going to, yeah. Bill thinks
Just
you're drunk.
To say, your show, I've learned a lot from your show. And what I love is your, you make the show about the listeners, and you just, let them have their say, but you ask them probing questions. And I think that's a great thing to do with with a show like this. You get, and of course the local perspective is what I really appreciate. You get much more insight into local issues than you do from pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah, thanks.
Local media is not great at local issues, but anyway.
No
but
doubt.
I just want. I'm very proud of you, George, and I do not apologize for the times I've spanked you.
People have heard those stories on air, by the way, Dad. As you know, I have told those stories, and they're great. They're great learning events. Dad, I can't thank you and Annette enough for listening and being loyal listeners. When we are together, you're always like, hey, what about that show with this and all that other stuff? It's a huge honor, and well, I love you. Love you.
All right,
you too.
love you, George. And
Very much.
you'll do well in your next endeavor, I'm sure.
Maybe. We're going to set the bar low, Dad, as you have throughout my life. Set the bar low. Let me trip right over it. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Annette. I'll talk with you guys soon. I love you.
Love you. Bye now.
Do you know how lucky? You know how lucky you are.
I do. I'm blessed, man. I am totally blessed. I get it, man. That's Pete Boyles, by the way. Pete was, who is still the godfather of talk radio out here in Denver. I got to sit in this chair after Pete. Pete, I wish we had you give some advice to Jeff before he got in here.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What'd you tell him?
Well, there's a book called Bud and Lou, and it's by Tommy Thompson. And I was in a team with a guy named Bob Lee, and it failed. But there's been a lot of team failures, and this guy points out why Bud and Lou failed, why Dean and Jerry failed, but why, like, the Stooges succeeded and Laurel and Hardy succeeded. And it was an interesting why it worked. And Jeff said, well, Pete's going to pick it up today. Billy's going to read it. And
Someone's teaching Billy to read.
Yeah, Billy
He's going to read it to me.
Okay, good. Audible. I think they must have it on Audible.
That's right.
Yeah.
In the car. And it really is why. And I always talk about advice. And I said, you remember, there is no I in team, but there is in radio.
Yeah, there is. And in winning and in victory.
Absolutely. But listen, I didn't even know we were going to do this. I was coming over to cut promos for tomorrow.
I know. We kept this a pretty tightly held secret. Yeah, this was Alamogordo. I think I'm Fat Man. This is some sort of
Yeah.
But Pete, I've only been privileged to do this for a fraction of your career, and it's been a huge honor. But man, what do you do transitioning out of this? How long am I going to miss this thing?
Forever.
What? What that?
Oh, I think if you went, talk to Rosen, for instance, you miss performing.
Yeah.
You miss when there's a big issue in the city, or this Taylor Swift thing. I think is really you're nodding your head and grinning. Boy, that's going to get to be fun, and all the stuff that's going on, and you miss that part of it. So,
and you miss the camaraderie. I mean, you had Bill for years, and you've had other producers over the years, but you only have so many waking hours every day, and you devote a whole bunch of that to this time on the radio. And the other part is, and I got this from you as much as anybody out there, more from you, and that is that the show, and I'm glad my dad said this, it has to be about the listeners, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
you can think there's a really cool topic, but if you can't make it passionate, relatable to them, you don't get any feedback.
This business, no man its master.
True.
And people that try to control the business, and I've listened to plenty of them. I used to listen to them.
Yeah.
But you can't control what somebody calling in wants to talk about in terms. I mean, you can channel it, but you can't control it.
Yeah, I also appreciate the callers that have the courage, or at least the comfort, to call in and disagree and be challenged and to challenge me.
That's what you want.
And I appreciate that. And I've always taken, I should have said this to Dad when he was on the phone. When I run into people out there, they're always like, you're always so respectful and patient with people, maybe beyond when when I would be. And in fact, you've even given me this advice before, like at some point, man, you just got to cut the line.
Land the plane.
But for me, I've always tried to picture, hey, this person on the other end could be like my dad, could be my dad. And I just want them to be treated with respect,
Yeah, the show is everything, and everything is the show. And people seem to forget that oftentimes. But no, I mean, I think you came through, and I got some hints about what's next, and sick 'em. Yo, Rennie.
Yeah, let's see if we can. Let's see if we can do something magical.
But it's the passion. Do you want that more than you want this? And that's really the question.
Oh, yeah.
What did he say?
He said, "Be careful, be careful."
No, I am. But my point is, it's like, there only was one Picasso.
Yep.
And there only was one Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Or one Alan Berg.
Or one Pete Boyle.
Maybe. But for these two guys coming in,
I'm excited. I'm excited for them.
Listen, I worked with Jeff's dad.
Oh my gosh.
We had us a time. And we did TV commercials together.
Let's
radio together.
Let me do this, Pete. Thank you, because I know you're going to be on the air every Saturday and all this. Kelly, Michael's behind the glass. Thank you for being so good to me over the 2 years. You guys were so flexible. Brian, wherever you are, Melanie, you guys were great to me all the time. The sales staff, fantastic. Ellen, Chelsea, Travis, Mark Crowley. I know I never lived up to your expectations, and I just appreciate that you let me know that constantly. Thank you for that. And then Bill, man, thanks for making this so easy behind the glass. I know, and I love Geronimo and James. Everybody knows that. It's just different, man. When you're not there running the show, it's just different. I don't sound smart. I don't sound funny. It's a really tough thing to get through. So Bill, I am so excited for you, man. I'm so glad you get to put your name on the marquee until they take this show off the air next month. I am so very excited for that. Listen, if I haven't thanked you, it's because I don't care about you. No, I'm kidding. It's because I just can't remember. I'm not good at this stuff. But we don't have a ton of time left together. I do want to say this. This is really to the listeners. You've made this show, and you can feel it just like we can feel it in here. When you don't care about the topic or you're not engaged with what we're doing, it's just a different show. It's not as fun. It's not as informative. It's not as engaging. So, one, thank you. Thank you for always doing that and calling in. And I wish I could get to all the callers out there, and Ken and Brian and Janice. I wish I could do that. I just can't. I've run out of time here. But the other thing is, keep doing it. When Jeff and Bill go live on Monday from 6 to 10 a.m., crush them. Crush them with questions, crush them with comments, texts, phones. Keep them from saying the things they want to say because you overwhelm them with the things you want to say. This is a magical forum, and I'll say this too, man, as somebody who has spent his life upholding and defending the Constitution. This is the First Amendment in action right here on 710 KNUS, and we got to hang on to this thing as long as we can. Hey, I've loved everybody here. I wish I could play that show opening one more time. I'm going to say this for the last time, and then it'll be farewell. George Brauchler on The George Show. It's 710 KNUS.